From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. This compilation collects Christmas episodes from the amazing world of radio. Each year, it's my privilege to present 2 hours of Christmas programming from the golden age of radio, across a variety of genres. This compilation doesn't include a Christmas music episode which we played back in 2016 because of content ID issues, but you will get to hear a Lux Radio Theater adaptation of a classic Christmas movie, some uproarious comedy, and inspirational dramas. On Christmas Eve, we'll be releasing a detective-specific compilation. But for now, enjoy this old-time radio Christmas compilation.
Get ready for unique, rare, and little-known treasures from the golden age of radio. You're listening to The Amazing World of Radio with Adam Graham.
Welcome to An Amazing World of Radio Christmas. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. And this program is going out on the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio feed to give our listeners a sampling of Amazing World of Radio. If you want to listen to the rest of the Christmas programs, just go to amazing.greatdetectives.net to subscribe. And of course, this program is brought to you by the Patreon supporters of the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio at patreon.greatdetectives.net. Well, today kicks off a series of 4 Christmas specials, 3 of which were chosen by our Patreon supporters. Now, again, listeners to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio, this is the only episode that'll show up in your feed. We have detective Christmas specials coming up at greatdetectives.net all week long. But for those who are listening to the Amazing World of Radio, we will have specials on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And we begin with an adaptation of an all-time classic Christmas story from film to radio. And by a vote of our Patreon supporters, the winner is A Miracle on 34th Street. The original air date on this, December the 20th, 1948, from the Lux Radio Theater. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
Lux presents Hollywood. Lever Brothers Company, the makers of Lux Flakes, bring you the Lux Radio Theater, starring Maureen, Hara, John Payne, and Edmund Gwynn in Miracle on 34th Street. Ladies and gentlemen, your producer, Mr. William Keeley.
Greetings from Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen. Our Christmas present to you is the new Christmas classic of our time, Miracle on 34th Street. It's wrapped in a gay covering of laughter, tied with a bright ribbon of good humor, and decorated with the 3 sparkling stars of the 20th Century Fox picture, Maureen, Hara, John Payne, and Edmund Gwynn. This is a wonderful story for the whole family, and perhaps some families may be gathered around a Christmas tree as they listen. Others will be putting up this happy sign of the season in a few days with lights and ornaments and the shining snow that can be made with Lux Flakes. Later, we'll tell you how to do this trick with Lux. But right now, it's curtain time for the play that proves there's a Santa Claus, Miracle on 34th Street, starring Maureen, Hara as Doris, John Payne as Fred, and Edmund Gwynn in his Academy Award-winning performance as Kris Kringle. It's Thanksgiving Day in New York City. On a broad avenue adjoining Central Park, an annual event is being joyfully awaited. The spectacular parade presented by Macy's department store to herald in the Christmas season. Away from the crowd are 2 of Macy's public relations experts.
He's simply wonderful, Mrs. Walker. Just look at him on that float. The most realistic Santa Claus we've ever had. Why, he didn't even need any padding, did he?
Padding?
Why, didn't you notice his tummy? So round, so firm, so fully packed. Well, now that everything's under control, where on earth did you find him?
I don't know. I just turned around and there he was.
And to think that the man whose place he took was intoxicated.
With a breath that would knock over a reindeer.
Oh, just think if Mr. Macy had seen him.
What if Mr. Gimble had seen him? Competition between our stores is tough enough.
Well, the parade's starting. Let's stand at the curb.
Not I, Mr. Shellhammer. I'm going home to relax. Anyway, I can see it from there. I live just around the corner.
Oh, so you do. Well, I'll see you tomorrow, Mrs. Walker. And congratulations on finding the best Santa Claus in Macy's history.
Certainly is a wonderful parade, Susan. Just look at that clown. Gosh, what a giant.
Giant, Mr. Gailey? There are no such things as giants.
Well, not now maybe, but in olden days there's...
Really, Mr. Gailey? And you a lawyer?
Well, what about the giant that Jack killed? You know, Jack and the Beanstalk?
Everybody knows that's a fairy tale. And I agree with my mother. Fairy tales are silly.
Come in.
Good afternoon. I'm Susan's mother. My name's Santa.
Oh, hello, Mother. I'm watching the parade. Mr. Gailey invited me.
Hello, darling.
Susie's told me quite a lot about you, Mrs. Walker.
She told me quite a lot about you, too. The man in the front apartment.
Well, this is all part of a plot, Mrs. Walker. I'm very fond of Susie, but I also wanted to meet you.
At least you're frank.
There goes Santa Claus.
Oh, don't even mention the name.
Why not, Mother?
Well, that Santa Claus you see is a last-minute substitute.
But why?
Oh, remember the way the janitor was last New Year's?
Oh, my. Tight as an owl.
I see Susan doesn't believe in Santa Claus either.
That's right, she never has.
Well, that's the end of the parade. Mother, I've been thinking. It's Thanksgiving, and there are only two of us. Couldn't we invite Mr. Gailey?
Well, please don't bother. I'll just have a sandwich or something.
But we have such a big turkey. Please, Mother, please.
Well,
Did I ask her all right, Mr. Gailey?
Susie, shh.
You asked fine, Susan. Dinner's at 3, Mr. Gailey.
Hello, Mrs. Walker.
Yes, Mr. Shellhammer.
Your maid said you were at Thanksgiving dinner, but I just had to tell you. Your Santa Claus was stupendous.
Well, thank you.
Mr. Macy himself wants him to be our toy department Santa Claus.
Oh, fine. Can you hire him?
Oh, I already have. Oh, he's a born salesman. I just feel it.
Good. We'll talk about it in the morning. Thanks for calling, Mr. Shellhammer.
Here he is, Mr. Shellhammer. Here's Santa Claus.
Oh, thank you, Alfred. Thank you. Good morning, Santa Claus.
Good morning.
Now, before you go to the toy department, here's a list of toys that we have to push.
Huh?
You know, things we're overstocked on. Now, you'll find that a great many children will be undecided as to what they want for Christmas. And when that happens, you immediately suggest one of these items. Do you understand?
I certainly do.
Fine, that's fine. Now, take the list, and Alfred here will show you to your throne in the toy department. And don't you forget, you're working for Macy's.
Are you really Santa Claus?
Why, of course I am. What do you want for Christmas, little boy?
I want a fire engine with a real hose that squirts real wet water. And I won't do it in the house, I'll only do it in the backyard, I promise.
And I promise you'll get your fire engine.
You see, Mama, I told you you'd get me one.
That's fine. That's just dandy. You wait here, Mortimer. Mama wants to thank Santa Claus, too.
Yes, madam?
So what's the matter with you?
No. What's the trouble?
I told you before, didn't I? The kid wants a fire engine, but there isn't one to be had anywhere in town. Macy's ain't got any. Gimbel's ain't got any. Nobody's got any. My feet are killing me, and you say, okay, he gets the fire engine.
But you can get those fire engines at Schoenfeld's on Lexington Avenue. Only $4.50, a wonderful bargain.
Schoenfeld?
Yes.
say? I don't get it.
Oh, I follow the toy market very closely.
Macy's sending people to other stores?
Yes.
Are you kidding?
No. The one important thing is to make the children happy. Whether Macy's or somebody else sells the toy doesn't matter. Now, don't you feel that way?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, sure. Only I didn't know Macy's did. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Who's next, please? Right this way to see Santa Claus. All right, little girl. You're next.
Of course, little girl. You want some roller skates? Well, you shall have them, too.
Mama, he's going to bring me some roller skates.
And he has some fine skates here at Macy's, haven't you, Santa Claus?
Oh, they're good skates, all right, but not quite good enough. Now, I left some really wonderful roller skates at Gimbel's. I'm sure Gimbel's have just what this good little girl wants. Very good.
Mr. Shellhammer, are you Mr. Shellhammer?
Gimbals? Gimbals? That's just what he did say. Gimbals.
The sales lady said I should speak to you.
Gimbals.
I just wanted to congratulate you and Macy's on this wonderful new stunt you're pulling.
Gimbals.
Imagine a big outfit like Macy's putting the spirit of Christmas ahead of the commercial.
Gimbals.
From now on, I'm going to be a regular Macy customer. All right, Mortimer, we're going.
Gimbals!
And there's the toy department over there, Mr. Gailey.
You certainly know all about Macy's store, don't you, Susan?
Well, that's because my mother works here. But I still think it's silly bringing me here to see Santa Claus.
Well, I just feel that when you talk to him, you might...
Okay, Mr. Gailey. I'm certainly willing to try.
Well, what a fine young lady, eh? And what's your name, little girl?
Susan Walker. What's yours?
Mine? Kris Kringle. I'm Santa Claus. Oh, you don't believe that, eh?
You see, my mother's Mrs. Walker.
Oh.
But I must say you're the best-looking Santa Claus I've ever seen.
Really?
Your beard, for instance. It doesn't have one of those things that goes over your ears.
That's because it's real. Just like I'm really Santa Claus. Now go ahead, pull it.
Well, my goodness, it is real.
Yes, yeah. And now what would you like me to bring you for Christmas?
Nothing, thank you. Whatever I want, my mother will get. If it's sensible and doesn't cost too much.
That's quite right, Susan.
Oh, hello, Mother.
Hello, Mr. Gailey.
Hello. The explanation for all this is very simple. Your maid's mother sprained her ankle. She had to go home, so she asked me to bring Susie down to you. And as long as we were here, I figured we might as well say hello to Santa Claus.
He has real whiskers, Mother.
Susan, would you mind standing over there a minute?
If you want me to.
I shouldn't have brought Susie to see Santa, is that it?
Now you're making me feel completely heartless.
I'm sorry.
Don't you see, I tell Susan that Santa Claus is a myth, and you show her a very convincing old man with real whiskers. Well, whom is she to believe?
Yeah, that's right, isn't it?
When Susan was a baby, her father and I were divorced. And ever since then, I've protected my child by teaching her realities. If you don't believe in fairy tales and fantasy, you can never be hurt or disillusioned.
We were talking about Susie, Mrs. Walker.
And I must ask you to let me raise her as I see fit. All right, dear. The store's going to close soon. We'll run along to my office.
Alfred said you wanted to see me, Mrs. Walker.
Oh, yes. Come in. I'd be grateful if you'll please tell Susan that you're not really Santa Claus, that there actually is no such person.
Oh, but Mrs. Walker, not only is there such a person, but here I am to prove it.
No, you misunderstand. I want you to tell her the truth. Now, what's your real name?
Kris Kringle, and I always tell the truth. Susan, I'll bet you're in the first grade.
Second grade.
I mean your real name.
Well, that is my real name. My goodness, the second grade?
Very well. I have your employment card right here. I'll look it up on that.
That's a very cute dress you have on, Susan.
It's from Macy's. We get 10% off.
Oh.
So, you always tell the truth, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Look at your employment card.
Name, Kris Kringle. Address, Brooks Memorial Home, Great Neck, Long Island. You may call the home if you'd care to confirm that, Mrs. Walker. It's a home for elderly gentlemen.
Would you also like me to confirm this?
What's that?
Date of birth. As old as my tongue and a little bit older than my teeth. Place of birth. North Pole. Now, really.
Why, I believe you doubt me, Mrs. Walker.
And this tops everything. Next of kin.
Oh, that.
Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, and Vixen. I'm sorry to have to do this, Mr.
Kringle?
But the Santa Claus that we had 2 years ago is back in town, and I feel that we owe it to him to...
What, have I done something wrong?
No. It's just that we feel... Oh, excuse me. Hello?
This is Mr. Shellhammer, Mrs. Walker. Drop whatever you're doing. Mr. Macy wants to see us immediately.
Oh, I'll be right up. I'm afraid I'll have to be very abrupt with you. I have to see Mr. Macy. You'll be paid for the full week, Mr. Kringle, and I'll send your check to that address.
Come right in, Mrs. Walker. Mr. Shellhammer.
Thank you, Mr. Macy.
Now, about this new policy you two initiated.
Oh.
Macy's Santa Claus sending customers to Gimbel.
Well, I can explain everything, Mr. Macy.
You don't have to explain a thing. Just look at my desk. 42 telegrams and over 500 phone calls. Grateful parents expressing undying gratitude to Macy's department store.
Why, you don't say.
From now on, not only will our Santa Claus continue in this manner, but every salesperson in the entire store.
You mean that if we haven't got what the customer asks for,
we're to send him where he can get it. No high-pressuring and forcing a customer to take something he doesn't really want.
I think that's wonderful, Mr. Macy.
Why, we'll be known as the helpful store, the friendly store, the store that places public service ahead of profits. And consequently, we will make more profits than ever. As for you, Mrs. Walker and Mr. Shellhammer, you'll find a more practical expression of my gratitude in your Christmas envelope.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
And tell that wonderful Santa Claus I won't forget him either. As a matter of fact, I'll tell him myself in the morning.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Macy.
Good night. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Macy.
And thank you again, sir. Oh, imagine a bonus.
Yes.
Well, what's the matter with you?
Mr. Shellhammer, I just fired him.
Who?
Santa Claus.
No, you couldn't have.
But I did. He's crazy, Mr. Shellhammer. He really thinks he is Santa Claus.
I don't care if he thinks he's the Easter Bunny. Find him.
Act 2 of Miracle on 34th Street will continue in a moment. Well, Libby, have you given Santa your Christmas list?
Yes, indeed, John. And number 1 on my list is a pair of Chinese pajamas with a 3/4 coat and little upstanding collar. Just like the ones Mata Torin wears in Rogue's Regiment.
Perhaps you'd better have the wardrobe mistress at Universal International show Santa what you mean.
Well, I'm sure Dick Powell or Stephen McNally could give him a good description. They found Marta very glamorous in this modern story of the French Foreign Legion.
And what a villain Vincent Price is in Rogue's Regiment. Mm-hmm. I was on the edge of my seat through the whole picture. And you talk about a pair of pajamas.
Well, they were very special. Marta liked them so well, she had 4 pairs made for her personal wardrobe. And she was delighted when they told her she could lux them.
That's about the easiest care in the world. Especially now with the new tiny diamonds of Lux. Another triumph of the famous Lever Laboratories. These tiny diamonds are so much faster, they burst into suds the instant water touches them, and make wonderfully rich suds that last and last.
Don't colors look marvelous when they're luxed? So fresh and new. No wonder smart girls say they won't risk wrong washing methods.
Tests prove that with gentle care with Lux Flakes really makes a difference. Lux slips and nighties stayed new-looking 3 times as long. And that's just like getting 3 pretty slips for the price of 1.
A really thoughtful Santa would put a box of Lux Flakes in every lingerie gift next Friday night.
Here's our producer, Mr. William Keeley.
Act 2 of Miracle on 34th Street, starring Maureen Hara as Doris, John Payne as Fred, and Edmund Gwynn as Kris Kringle. It was a frantic few hours that Doris spent last night, rushing out to the Brooks Memorial Home in Long Island and assuring Kris Kringle that Macy's wanted him back as Santa Claus. Now Kris is again presiding over the crowded toy department, while in her office, Doris and Mr. Shellhammer...
Don't you understand, Mr. Shellhammer? That old man with the nice white whiskers insists that he is Santa Claus. Why, he's out of his mind. What if he should have a fit or something? Oh, no, I've got to tell Mr. Macy.
Yes, but maybe he's only a little crazy. Anyway, you can't be sure until he's examined. We'll send him to Mr. Sawyer.
Sawyer?
In personnel. He's paid to examine employees, isn't he? And now, by the way, what do you think of this?
What is it?
A full-page ad Macy's is running in tomorrow's newspapers.
Macy's is running it. But it's all about the other stores, Gimbels and
I
Saks.
know. Mr. Macy's idea to help our customers find what they want. It's revolting, isn't it?
That Santa Claus certainly has started something. Oh, well, I'll get a hold of him in his lunch hour and send him up to Mr. Sawyer.
So I changed my clothes, Mr. Sawyer, and came right up.
Oh. Well, then that's your own beard, huh?
Oh, yes.
Interesting complex in back of there. Why do you carry a cane?
Always carry a cane, Mr. Sawyer. Well, that is when I wear street clothes. I carved this cane out of a runner from one of my old sleighs.
What's that? What's that?
With a fine, solid silver top.
Who was the first president of the United States?
Oh, give me a difficult one, like who was vice president under James Monroe?
I'm conducting this examination.
The answer is Daniel D. Tompkins.
Oh.
Yes. You're a rather nervous man, aren't you, Mr. Sawyer? Tell me, do you get enough sleep?
My personal habits are no concern of yours. Now, what hand am I holding up?
Right hand.
How many fingers do you see?
3. Oh, dear. You bite your nails, too.
Stand up now. Feet together. Arms extended.
Muscular coordination test? I've taken dozens of these tests. Mr. Sawyer, are you happy at home?
What? That will be all, Mr. Kringle. The examination is over.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it may interest you to know I've been happily married for 22 years. Very happily married.
Delighted to hear it. Goodbye, Mr. Sawyer.
Miss Prawn.
Yes, sir.
Get Mrs. Walker on the phone.
Yes, sir. But your wife, Mr. Sawyer, she's called 4 times already.
Well, you tell my big fat wife to shut up and mind her own business.
Here's Mrs. Walker, sir.
All right. Hello.
Oh, I was just going to call you, Mr. Sawyer.
Oh?
There's a Dr. Pierce stopping by this afternoon at 3.
Who's Dr. Pierce?
He's the physician at the Brooks home. I thought we might discuss Mr. Kringle's case with him.
There's hardly any point in discussing it, Mrs. Walker. Obviously, the old man should be discharged. So, Dr. Pierce, Kringle should be dismissed immediately and sent to a mental institution.
Oh, now, just a minute, Mr. Sawyer.
He's deluded, saying that he's Santa Claus.
It's a delusion for good. I found he only wants to be friendly and helpful.
His whole manner suggests aggressiveness. Look at the way he carries that cane. Mrs. Walker, naturally, I can't discharge that loony, so when he exhibits his maniacal tendencies, please realize the responsibility is completely yours.
Well, I'm right back where I started.
Mrs. Walker, I assure you, Kris Kringle has no maniacal tendency.
But if there's the slightest possibility of us causing any trouble...
What trouble?
All that needs happen is a policeman ask his name. Kris Kringle, clang, clang, and Macy's Santa Claus lands up in the psychopathic ward.
Well, you can prevent that very simply. Now, there must be someone here at the store who could rent him a room. Then they could both come to work together. I'd just as soon he avoided that long train ride to Long Island anyway.
You mean sort of take custody of him?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Mr. Kringle would agree to that?
Oh, I'm sure he'll agree.
Well, in that case... Now, let me see. Who do I know who could rent him a room?
I'm glad you're going to have dinner with us, Mr. Kringle.
Oh, thank you, Susan.
I'm also very glad you're going to live next door with Mr. Gailey.
Oh, why?
Because you're nice to talk to.
Oh, I say, what a fine young man that Mr. Gailey is, eh? Just think, allowing me to share his apartment, a mere stranger.
He did it because Mother hinted to him.
Oh, well, anyway, I'm very grateful.
Shall I tell you what I did in school today?
By all means. Any games?
Yes. And a very silly game, too.
Oh?
They played zoo, and each child was supposed to be an animal.
Oh, but Susan, they were just pretending.
But that's what makes the game so silly.
Oh. Well, of course, in order to play games, you need imagination.
Oh, That's when you see things, but they're not really there, huh?
Oh, yes. Yes, but, to me, imagination is a place all by itself. Now, you've heard of the French nation, and the British nation.
Yes.
Well, this is the imagination. A very interesting place, too. Now, how would you like to be able to make snowballs in summertime, eh?
What?
Or be the Statue of Liberty in the morning, and in the afternoon, fly south with a flock of geese?
Well, I'm quite sure I'd like it, but...
Oh, it's very simple. Very. Well, anyway, look here. The next time they play zoo, you can be a monkey.
But I don't know how to be a monkey.
Don't you? Oh, I'll show you. Now, first, you bend over a little, like this, see? Now, let your arms hang loose, see?
Like this?
Yes, that's fine, fine. Now, put your hand over here and start scratching, see? Yeah. That's it. That's it. That's excellent, Susan. That's as fine a bit of scratching as I've ever seen. Yeah. Now you start chattering.
Chattering?
Yes, now listen. See? And keep scratching. Now then, look here. We'll do it together, see? Chatter and scratch and chatter, see? That's fine, Susan, fine. You're doing beautifully. Beautifully, yes. Susan, are you still awake?
Uh-huh.
I've just come in to say good night, Susan, that's all. Now, look here, about Christmas. There must be something you'd like for Christmas.
Well, I've certainly thought about something, Mr. Kringle.
You have? Well, what is it, eh? Tell me.
It's right here on the night table, see? Oh? I tore this page out of a magazine. It's a picture of a house.
Oh, that's what you want, is it? A doll's house. Colonial architecture.
Oh, not a doll's house, a real house.
A real house?
Yes. And if you're really Santa Claus, you can get it for me.
Now, wait a minute, Susie. What could you possibly do with a big house?
Live in it with my mother. And a backyard with a big tree to put a swing on, and a garden, and a... Oh, well, why even discuss it?
Susie, could I keep this picture? Just in case?
I guess so.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. Well, Mr. Gale is waiting for me. Good night, monkey.
Good night, Mr. Kringle.
Take whichever bed you want, Mr. Kringle.
You're very kind, really. Tell me, Mr. Gale, what is it you just do for a living, eh?
Oh, I'm a lawyer. Haslip, Sherman, and Mackenzie.
Oh. And you like living here in the city?
Well, it's convenient. But someday I'd like to get a place on Long Island.
Huh.
Not a big house, just one of those junior partner deals around Manhasset.
Oh, one of those little colonial houses, eh?
Yeah. A little colonial house would be swell.
Good, yes. You're quite fond of Mrs. Walker, aren't you?
A lot of good it does me. She lives in a cast iron shell that's just a little difficult to penetrate.
Oh. Well, you must try a little harder, Mr. Gale. Mrs. Walker and that child are a couple of lost souls. And it's up to us to help them, see?
No?
Yeah, Oh, well, shall I turn out the light?
No. I'm not going to be cheated out of this. All my life I've wondered about it, and now I'm going to find out. Tell me, does Santa Claus sleep with his whiskers outside or inside the cover?
Oh, outside, of course. Outside, by all means. The cold air makes them grow.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, come in, Mrs. Walker. Come in.
Thank you, Mr. Macy. I've just heard something very exciting.
You have? Well, let me tell you something very exciting. Our policy of being kind to customers has tripled our sales. Now, what do you think of that?
That's wonderful, Mr. Macy. And Gimbels thinks it's wonderful, too.
Gimbels?
Gimbels are adopting the same policy.
Well, is that so?
And it gives me an idea. As long as Gimbels are doing the same thing, why not some pictures for the newspapers?
Pictures?
Yes. You and Mr. Gimble shaking hands.
Shaking hands. R.H. Macy and Gimble?
Well, yes.
Yes, why not? With Santa Claus. It's a great idea, Mrs. Walker. Macy and Gimble shaking hands. Oh, that's enough pictures, gentlemen. Thank you.
Well, thank
you very much. Well, Mr. Gimble?
Come on, R.H. Now we'll go over to my store and get some really good pictures.
Oh, just a minute. I have something here for Santa Claus. Here you are, Mr. Kringle. A check in appreciation of all you've done.
Mr. Macy, why, that's most kind of you.
I didn't think you were that generous, R.H. That's quite a check. What are you going to do with it, Mr. Kringle?
Well, I have a friend, a Dr. Pierce. He needs a new X-ray machine.
You buy the machine through the store. 10% discount.
Nonsense. Come over to Gimble's. We'll furnish it at cost.
Oh, keep it up, gentlemen. Keep it up. At this rate, my friend will have a whole new hospital.
How did the pictures turn out, Mr. Kringle?
Oh, fine, Alfred, fine. How about a game of checkers during lunch, eh?
Oh, not today, Kris. I don't feel so good.
Oh? What's the matter, Alfred?
Oh, nothing much. You remember I was telling you how I like to play Santa Claus over at the Y and give out packages to the kids?
Yeah?
Well, I was telling Mr. Sawyer about it, and he says that's very bad. That psychologically it's all wrong.
Wrong? To be nice to children?
Well, he says guys who play Santa Claus do it because when they was young they must have done something bad. Now they do something they think is good to make up for it, see? It's what he calls a guilt complex.
Alfred, what else has he found wrong with you?
Oh, nothing much. Just that I hate my father. I didn't know it, but he says I do.
Excuse me.
Hey, ain't you going to have lunch?
Later. Right now, I have an appointment with Mr. Sawyer.
What do you mean, breaking into my office like this?
Are you a licensed psychiatrist?
What business is it of yours?
I have great respect for psychiatry and great contempt for meddling amateurs who go around practicing it.
Oh, shut up.
You ought to be horsewhipped. Taking a boy like Alfred and filling him up with complexes and phobias
I think I'm better equipped to judge that than you.
Just because Alfred wants to be kind to children, you tell him he has a guilt complex.
Yes. Having the same delusion you couldn't possibly understand.
Oh.
And don't you wave that cane at me.
Either you stop analyzing Alfred or I'll go straight to Mr. Macy and tell him what a contemptible fraud you are.
Get out of here. Get out of here before I have you thrown out.
There's only one way to handle a man like you. Maybe this'll knock some sense into you.
Oh, help! Oh, my head! My head! Oh!
Good day, Mr. Sawyer.
Miss Prawn! Get me the police! Get me Mrs. Walker! Get me the psychopathic ward in Bellevue Hospital!
You can see Mr. Kringle now, Mr. Gailey.
Thank you, nurse. Hello, Kris.
Hello, Fred.
Kris, I've been speaking to the doctors. They said they've given you some tests.
Oh, yes. Same old tests.
Except this time you failed to pass them. Kris, you deliberately failed. Why?
Why? Well, because I had great hopes, Fred. I had a feeling Mrs. Walker was beginning to believe in me, and now I discover she was only humoring me all the time.
But this wasn't Doris's idea at all. Mr. Sawyer had you sent up here before she even knew about it.
But why didn't she come to me and explain things?
Because she didn't want to hurt you.
Oh, well, it's not just Mrs. Walker. Well, now, take Mr. Sawyer. He's contemptible, dishonest, deceitful, yet he's out there and I'm in here. Well, if that's normal, I don't want it.
But you can't just think of yourself, Kris. What happens to you matters to a lot of other people. People like me who believe in what you stand for, and people like Susie, who are just beginning to. Kris, you're letting us down.
Well, Fred, maybe you're right. Of course you're right. I ought to be ashamed of myself. Let's get out of here.
Now, wait a minute. You flunked your mental examination, but good.
Oh, yes, so I did. Oh. Well, anyway, you're a lawyer. You fix it.
Hey, look, I can't just...
Now, I won't let you down, and you won't let me down.
Kris, now take it easy. Look, there'll have to be a hearing. If you're going to be committed, it has to be before a judge.
Well,
if I can do anything at all, it'll have to be in courtroom. Now, sit tight, Kris. I'll get an idea. I have to get an idea.
sent for me, Mr. Macy?
I certainly did, Mr. Sawyer. I brought my family to the toy department to see our Santa Claus, and our Santa Claus isn't there. He's in Bellevue.
Yes, Mr. Macy.
Because he's a lunatic.
Yes, sir, a lunatic.
Lunatic, my foot. Now, you listen to me, Sawyer. You get that case dropped right away, or you'll have another lump to match the one he gave you.
But it's out of my hands. Mr. Kringle goes to court in the morning.
Well, just see that he's back in the toy department by afternoon. Now, get out of here.
Oh, Mr. Gailey. Mr. Gailey.
Yes?
I've been looking all over for you. I'm Mr. Sawyer.
Oh, so you're Sawyer?
Yes. I was just speaking to the court clerk, and he said you represent Mr. Kringle. Well, I represent Mr. Macy.
Well, then I'll see you in court.
Oh, no. That's what I wanted to speak to you about. Now, Mr. Macy would like to drop the whole case right now. You see, we're most anxious to avoid any publicity.
No publicity, huh? Well, that's very interesting.
Oh, then you'll cooperate?
You know something, Sawyer? You've just given me the idea I've been searching for.
Oh, good.
If I'm going to win this case, I'm going to have public opinion and plenty of it. And publicity's just the way to do it. Thanks. And so long, Mr. Sawyer.
Mr. Gailey? But Mr. Gailey!
Look at these newspapers, Chris. Here. Evening Dispatch. Doctors doubt sanity of Santa who launched Goodwill campaign.
Oh, my.
Daily Bulletin. Macy's Santa Claus to have lunacy hearing.
What's this one?
The New York Express.
Is Kris Kringle crazy? Court case coming. Kiddies cry calamity.
You've driven the United Nations clear back to page 5. Well, get a good night's sleep, Chris. We go before Judge Harper at 10 tomorrow morning.
We pause now for station identification. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Our stars will return with Act 3 of Miracle on 34th Street in a moment. When a new player signs a contract with 20th Century Fox, she soon gets well acquainted with Miss Helena Sorrell, head dramatic coach. Helena, do you like to watch your pupils perform in a picture?
Oh, of course, John, because I take a personal interest in them. I'm especially proud of Betty Grable in her new picture, When My Baby Smiles at Me.
Betty's become a really fine dramatic actress.
She certainly has.
She and Dan Daly are magnificent as a couple of vaudeville hoofers.
And Betty's costumes in When My Baby Smiles at Me gave me a thrill, and I was amazed how many things the wardrobe department washed with Lux Flakes. It reminded me of my theatrical days when I was on the road and lived in a couple of trunks.
A box of Lux Flakes in each?
That's absolutely true, John. I was never without it, in my hotel or at the theater.
Well, then you've probably discovered that the new tiny diamonds of Lux are more wonderful than ever. They're so much faster and richer. Do more for you, too. They remove soil which other types of suds can't. Leave things cleaner, fresher.
And Lux Flakes keep colors lovely.
You're right there. That's why it's foolish to risk wrong washing methods that may fade colors. Actual tests show that with gentle Lux Flakes care, colors stay lovely up to 3 times as long.
That's a good tip for girls who get nice blouses and sweaters for Christmas.
Right you are. And thank you for coming tonight, Helena Sorrell. We return you now to William Keighley.
The curtain rises on the third act of Miracle on 34th Street, starring Maureen O'Hara as Doris, John Payne as Fred, and Edmund Gwynn as Chris. For a few weeks, a jolly elderly gentleman named Kris Kringle has been working minor miracles as Macy's Santa Claus. But now his sanity has been seriously questioned, and in a crowded courtroom, Judge Harper listens patiently as the assistant district attorney summons Chris to the witness stand.
Now, this is not a trial, Mr. Kringle. It's just a hearing, so you don't have to answer any questions. Now then, where do you live, please?
Well, it seems to me that's what this hearing will decide, won't it?
Mr. Kringle, Do you believe that you are Santa Claus?
Of course I do.
That's all, Your Honor. The state rests its case.
Well, Mr. Gailey?
Your Honor, Mr. Mara contends my client is not sane because he believes he is Santa Claus.
An entirely logical conclusion.
Anyone who thinks he's Santa Claus is crazy.
Your Honor, you believe yourself to be Judge Harper, yet no one questions your sanity because you are Judge Harper, do they?
Mr. Kringle is the subject of this sanity hearing, not I.
Well, Your Honor, I intend to prove that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
Mr. Mara, I thought you said this was a cut-and-dried sanity hearing.
I thought it was, Your Honor.
In view of Mr. Gailey's statement, I'll have to review the entire background of this case. Court's adjourned till tomorrow morning.
Hello, Doris. I'm sorry I'm late, but get ready. We're really going to celebrate tonight.
What are we celebrating?
Well, didn't you read the papers? Santa's mouthpiece throws bombshell in New York Supreme Court.
Oh, Fred, you're not really serious about this. You can't possibly prove that Kris Kringle is Santa Claus.
Well, you saw Mr. Macy and Mr. Gimble shake hands. That wasn't possible either.
What does your firm have to say about it? Hayslip and Mackenzie and the rest of them.
That I've jeopardized their prestige, and either I drop this impossible case or they'll drop me.
You see?
So I beat them to it. I quit.
Fred, you threw away a career because of a sentimental whim?
Well, I'll open my own office.
And what kind of clients will you get?
Oh, probably a lot of people like Chris who are being pushed around. That's the only fun in law anyway. Doris, look. Don't you have any faith in me at all?
Oh, it's not a question of faith. It's just common sense.
But faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to. It's not just Chris that's on trial. It's everything he stands for. Human kindness and love and dignity.
Fred, listen. We've seen a lot of each other the last couple of weeks. I've become fond of you. We've talked about some wonderful plans, haven't we? And then you do this. Go on an idealistic binge, throw away your security, and expect me to be happy about it.
And I expect too much. Is that it? Well, that's then, I guess. Good night, Doris.
Hello. Yes, this is Mr. Mara. Well, can't it wait till tomorrow? I'm eating dinner. Who's been subpoenaed? Well, how do you think I feel about it? I'll see you tomorrow.
Who's that, dear?
R.H. Macy's been subpoenaed.
Oh, my.
Those reporters. They make me look like a sadistic monster who likes nothing better than to drown pussycats and tear wings off butterflies.
Quiet, dear. Tommy's still awake.
Oh, yeah.
It'd just break his heart if he knew what his daddy is doing.
I'm doing my job as assistant district attorney.
Well, I'm not so sure, but that I agree with them. Mr. Kringle looks like a very nice old man, and I don't see why you have to keep persecuting him.
I'm not persecuting him. I'm prosecuting him. I like the old man, too, but there's nothing I can do about it.
You know something, Thomas? Sometimes I wish I'd married a butcher or a plumber.
Well, if I lose this case, it's very possible you'll get your wish. R.H. Macy, I wonder what he's going to pull tomorrow.
Proceed to the witness, Mr. Gailey.
Now then, Mr. Macy, if you recognize the defendant, please tell us who he is.
Why, Kris Kringle, of course.
Do you believe him to be of sound mind?
Sound mind? I wish I had a dozen like him.
Mr. Macy, you are under oath. Do you believe that man is Santa Claus?
Well, now, that's a rather delicate...
Just think of those headlines tomorrow. Macy admits his Santa Claus is fraud.
You keep out of this, Gimble.
What did you say?
Nothing, Mr. Barra, nothing.
Well, I wish you would. Is that man Santa Claus?
Yes, in my opinion, he most certainly is.
Your Honor, there is no such person as Santa Claus, and everybody knows it.
Can you prove there isn't any?
I won't even try. I'll not waste the court's time with such childish nonsense. Your Honor, the prosecution requests an immediate ruling from this court. Is there or is there not a Santa Claus?
Well, now, the court will take a short recess to consider the question.
Hello, Henry.
Why, Charlie, what are you doing here?
Can't an old friend visit you in your chambers? And if you ask me, you never needed a friend like you do now.
This Kringle case? Well, I certainly don't see what they're making such a fuss about.
Henry, that's Santa Claus you've got out there. On trial for lunacy. This case is dynamite, and you're coming up for re-election soon.
Charlie, you know what happened last night? Martha brought the grandchildren over. They wouldn't kiss Grandpa. They wouldn't even talk to me.
You see what I mean? If you rule there is no Santa Claus, you better start looking for that chicken farm right now.
I'm a responsible judge. How can I seriously rule that there is a Santa Claus?
Because of what happens if you don't. The kids read about it and they don't hang up their stockings. Now what happens to all the toys that are supposed to be in those stockings? Nobody buys them. The toy manufacturers have to lay off employees. By now you've got the AFL and the CIO against you. Yes, and they're going to say it with votes, see? Oh, and the department stores are going to love you, too. Yes, sir, Henry. And what about the Salvation Army? They got a Santa Claus on every street corner. They take in a lot of money to help the poor. But go ahead, Henry. You go in there and rule there isn't any Santa Claus. But if you do, you can count on getting just 2 votes, your own and that district attorney's out there.
1 vote, Charlie. He's a Republican. Oh, well, let's get this over with. The question of Santa Claus seems to be largely a matter of opinion. The tradition of American justice demands a broad and unprejudiced view of such a controversial matter.
But, Your Honor...
This court, therefore, intends to keep its mind open. We shall ask for evidence on either side.
But the burden of proof clearly rests with my opponent. Can he produce any evidence to support his views?
If Your Honor please, I can. Will Thomas Mara please take the stand?
Who, me?
No. Thomas Mara, Jr. I believe he and his mother are both in court today.
Hi, Papa.
Hi. Tommy, do you believe in Santa Claus?
I sure do. Gosh, he gave me a brand new sled last year.
Now, what does Santa Claus look like, Tommy?
Well, there he is, sitting right over there.
Your Honor, I protest. Overruled. Tell me, Tommy, why are you so sure there's a Santa Claus?
Because my papa told me so, didn't you, Papa?
Thank you, Tommy. You can go back to your mother now.
See you later, Papa.
You certainly will. Your Honor...
Don't forget Santa Claus. This year I want a football helmet.
Don't worry, Tommy. You will get it.
Mr. Kringle, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, sir.
Your Honor, the state of New York concedes the existence of a Santa Claus. But in so conceding, we demand that Mr. Gailey stop representing and presenting personal opinion as evidence. I insist he submit authoritative proof that Mr. Kringle here is the one and only Santa Claus.
Well, Mr. Gailey, are you prepared to show that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus on the basis of unprejudiced authority?
Well, sir, no, not now. I need a little time.
Why not now?
Tomorrow, Your Honor.
Very well. Court's adjourned till tomorrow morning.
Oh, brother.
Now come, Susan, dear, finish your supper.
But I can't, Mother. All those things they're saying in the newspapers about Mr. Kringle and Mr. Gailey.
They're having this trial because he says he's Santa Claus.
He's so kind and nice and jolly. He's not like anyone else I know. He must be Santa.
You know something? I think perhaps you're right.
Is Mr. Kringle sad now, Mother?
I'm afraid he must be.
Then I'll write him a letter. Maybe that'll make him feel better. I'll cheer him up.
Oh, postman.
Yeah, lady?
Would you mind taking this letter?
Oh, sure, lady. We're going straight down to the post office now. Okay, Louie, take it away. Well, what do you know, Louie? Another letter for Santa Claus. Hey, here's a new one. Instead of the North Pole, this kid's got it addressed to Kris Kringle, New York County Courthouse.
Well, the kid's right.
Huh? Oh, yeah, sure. They got him on trial down there. He claims he's Santa Claus, and the DA claims he's nuts.
Hey, I got an idea. How many Santa Claus letters we got down there in the dead letter office?
Oh, who knows? Must be 50,000 bags and bags all over the joint. You mean?
But, Frankie, why not? Wouldn't it be nice to get rid of them all? Wouldn't it?
Boy, oh boy. Look, Louie, soon as we get to the post office, we go and see the supervisor. You know something? I bet we both get promoted. And since the defense has been unable to submit one shred of proof that Kris Kringle is the one and only Santa Claus, and since tonight is Christmas Eve, I ask Your Honor that this hearing be terminated without further delay.
I protest. I do have evidence.
5 minutes ago, you said you didn't.
During Mr. Mara's oration, the bailiff handed my client the evidence I refer to.
What evidence?
This letter, Your Honor.
Oh, yes, Mr. Kringle?
It's from Susan Walker. She believes in me. Oh, this letter means more to me than anything in the world.
That letter, Your Honor, was delivered by the United States Post Office, an official agency of the federal government. The Post Office Department was one of the largest business concerns in the world. Last year did a gross volume of over $1 billion, and this year...
Your Honor, I'm sure we're all gratified that the Post Office is getting along so well. But what bearing has it on the sanity of that man?
My point is that the Post Office Department is a model of efficiency. Furthermore, the laws of this country make it a criminal offense to willfully misdirect mail or intentionally deliver it to the wrong party.
The state of New York is second to none in its admiration of the Post Office Department. We're very happy to concede Mr. Gailey's...
For the record, Mr. Mara?
For the record. Anything to get on with this case.
Thank you. Your Honor, that letter just received by Mr. Kringle is positive proof that a competent...
One letter is hardly positive proof.
I have further exhibits, Your Honor, but I hesitate to produce them.
Come, Mr. Gailey. Put them here on my desk.
But, Your Honor, I don't...
said put them on my desk.
All right, boys, bring them in.
Your Honor, what is this?
Empty those mail sacks on Judge Harper's desk. But bring them all in or be fined for contempt of court.
No, just a second here.
We'll do it, Your Honor, through rain, through sleet, through courtrooms, anything. We deliver.
Mr. Gailey.
Your Honor, every one of those letters and every one of those mail sacks is addressed to Santa Claus. The post office is to deliver them. Therefore, the Post Office Department recognizes Kris Kringle to be the one and only Santa Claus.
Since the United States government declares this man to be Santa Claus, this court will not dispute it. Case dismissed. And for heaven's sake, get this mail out of my courtroom.
So as soon as I got out of court, I came straight to Macy's to see you, Doris.
Oh, Kris, I'm so glad you won.
Well, we're having a big Christmas party at the Brooks home tomorrow morning. I'd like so much to see you and Susan there.
We'll be there, Kris. Oh, Kris, couldn't you come home now and have dinner with us?
Now? Tonight? Me? My goodness, Doris, it's Christmas Eve. Alfred, look who came all the way out here to the home, just for our Christmas party.
Kris, it's Mr. Macy.
Mr. Gimble, too. Oh, excuse me, Alfred. Mrs. Walker and Susan have to leave now, and I want to see them before they go, so forgive me, will you?
But, Susie, darling, you've got so many presents.
Not the one I wanted. Not the one Mr. Kringle was going to get for me.
Well, what was it?
Doesn't matter. I knew I wouldn't get it, but I thought he'd at least tell me why.
Susie. I'm sorry, Susie. I tried my best, but...
You couldn't get it because you're not Santa Claus.
Susan.
Just a nice old man like Mother said.
But I was wrong when I told you that. You must believe in Mr. Kringle and keep right on doing it. You must have faith in him.
But that doesn't make sense, Mother.
Faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to.
What?
I mean, just because things don't turn out the way you want them to the first time, you've still got to believe in people. I found that...
Hello, Doris.
Fred.
Mr. Gailey.
Merry Christmas, Susie.
Gosh. You just get here and we're ready to leave.
Oh, I've been here. Oh. And if you're ready to leave, I'll drive you home.
Before you go, here's a map I've made for you. You'll miss a lot of traffic. About 4 miles south, you will see Ashley Avenue. Now, that's the street you want. Ashley Avenue.
Thanks, Kris. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Fred. And to you, my dear. And to you, Susie.
I believe, Mr. Kringle. I do. It's silly, I suppose, but I do.
I don't understand it, Fred. The map Kris gave definitely says Ashley Avenue. We've been on Ashley Avenue now for...
Stop the car! Oh, stop the car, please!
Susie, what is it, darling? What's the matter?
There it is! The house! The house!
Susie!
What in the world?
She's running into that house.
Well, at least there's no one home. It's brand new. It's just been built.
Yeah, for sale, it says. For sale.
What on earth is that child up to?
Susie! Hey, Susie!
Here I am! Upstairs!
Now come right down. You know you shouldn't run around in other people's houses. That's strange.
I'll say.
No. I mean this house. I've seen this house somewhere. I know I have. Maybe in a magazine or...
Mother! It's our house. It's the one I asked him for, Mr. Kringle.
Mr. Kringle?
I know it is. Oh, you were right, Mommy. You were right.
Susie.
Mommy told me that if things didn't turn out just the way you wanted them at first, you've still got to believe. And I kept believing. And you were right, Mommy. Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
Now where are you going?
In back to see if there's a swing. There is one. Oh, there is one.
You told her that? About believing?
Well, you told me, Fred.
A sign outside. For sale, huh? Well, we can't let her down, can we?
I never really doubted you. It was just my silly common sense.
It even makes sense to believe in me now. I must be a pretty good lawyer. I take a little old man and legally prove to the world that he's Santa Claus. Now, you know that couldn't be.
Fred!
What's the matter?
There. In the corner. By the fireplace.
Oh, no. No.
It can't be. It couldn't.
A cane. Kris's cane. Well, there couldn't be two canes like this anywhere in the world.
Silver handle and all.
Hey, you know something? Maybe I didn't do such a wonderful thing after all.
Before our stars return for their curtain calls, Libby Collins wants to tell you about the wonderful way to decorate your Christmas tree, as we promised at the opening of the show.
You can give your tree that fresh from the woods look by covering it with real-looking snow you make yourself from a box of Lux Flakes.
So many people have asked for the Lux recipe for Christmas snow that we gave last week. We'll repeat it tonight. Listen carefully.
Take a large box of Lux Flakes. Gradually add 2 cups of lukewarm water and beat with an egg beater until it has the consistency of thick whipped cream. Then, with your fingers, spread the mixture over the branches of your tree. And that's all.
This snowy covering dries quickly, it won't melt, and lasts as long as the tree. Ask your dealer for a copy of this Christmas snow recipe.
I don't know of any other decoration that costs so little, yet does so much for your tree. It looks lovely used just with tree lights, or you can add your usual ornaments if you prefer.
Try it on your mantel decorations and table arrangements, too. It gives them a very professional look.
And makes the whole house look more Christmassy. Now, I'll repeat that recipe. Take a large box of Lux Flakes. Gradually add about 2 cups of lukewarm water and beat with an egg beater. While moist, spread the mixture along the branches. If you want extra glitter, shake on some shiny artificial snow before the mixture dries. Let the children help. They'll love doing it and love the snowy tree.
Back now to our producer, William Keeley.
Mr. Kringle's reindeer are waiting on the roof, but we've asked him to pause a moment before he leaves and come back to the footlights with Maureen Hara and John Payne. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a real thrill to everyone in Hollywood when Edmund Gwynn topped his entire 53 years as an actor with his great performance as Kris Kringle.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bill. Everyone connected with Miracle on 34th Street, from George Seaton, the author-director, to the prop man, helped me. They all believed in Santa Claus.
How could we help it?
I suppose you've got a strenuous time ahead, Kris.
Yeah.
Covering the entire world in one night.
John, if everyone believed in Santa Claus, Peace would break out all over the world in 30 seconds.
I hope you won't be too busy to stop at my house. I'll have my stockings hung up.
Oh, well, I'll stop in, Maureen, but seems rather futile.
Why, Kris?
Well, I couldn't possibly fill her stocking as well as she does.
I see what you mean.
Bill, after that, I think you'd better tell us all about next week's play.
Next week, Maureen, a play straight from your native land. It's the 20th Century Fox picture, The Luck of the Irish. And the stars? Well, we have a superb cast. There's Dana Andrews, Ann Baxter, and Cecil Calloway. This is a delightful romance, presided over by a most mysterious leprechaun in the person of Cecil Calloway. I know you'll all enjoy it.
We'll be looking forward to it, Bill. And good night.
Good night.
Good night. Can I give anybody a lift in my sleigh?
Good night and a Merry, Merry Christmas. Before we meet again in this theater, the most joyful day in the year will have come and gone. There are, in our time, as in every time, a few foolish men who deride the spirit of Christmas. But in every country and in every time, they are overwhelmed by those who find in it the hope and happiness of the future, by those of us who believe in our hearts that there can be peace on this earth and goodwill among all men. On behalf of Lever Brothers Company and of us in the Lux Radio Theater, may I wish all of you the happiest of holidays. And we invite you all to join us again next Monday evening when the Lux Radio Theater presents Dana Andrews, Ann Baxter, and Cecil Calloway in The Luck of the Irish. This is William Keeley saying good night and Merry Christmas.
Maureen O'Hara appeared through the courtesy of 20th Century Fox, producers of The Snake Pit, starring Olivia de Havilland and Mark Stevens. Edmund Gwynn appeared by arrangement with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, producers of the all-star Technicolor musical Words and Music, based on the lives and music of Rodgers and Hart. John Payne will soon be seen in the Paramount picture El Paso. Be sure to listen next Monday night to the Lux Radio Theater presentation of The Luck of the Irish, starring Dana Andrews, Ann Baxter, and Cecil Calloway. Stay tuned for My Friend Irma, which follows over these same stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. Well, a superb adaptation. Getting Edmund Gwynn in to play Kris Kringle was kind of essential for this feeling genuine. He is, after all, Santa. But of course, there were a lot of roles that you just could not bring them back, or this would be incredibly expensive to hire the entire original cast. People like Gene Lockhart. And we got to hear some of radio's recurring character actors such as Alan Reed and William Johnstone stepping into those roles. And there were actors who were regular parts of the Lux Radio Theater who were essentially part of the company, and they would fill in for all the people that couldn't be brought in to play minor roles. Probably, I should say, the most amazing thing I find about the production is that they actually use the name of real stores in New York City's of Macy's and Gimbels, and even had someone playing the owner of the Macy chain. It's remarkable, given that the portrayal's not completely flattering, but that's made up for the fact that this became one of the great heartwarming films of all time. All right, well, that will be all for now. Join us back here on Tuesday, and it will be time for some Christmas comedy, and you'll get to find out who our Patreon supporters picked. Well, now it's time for us to open our next Christmas program. And for this one, I asked our Patreon supporters to choose which great comedy team would they like to hear from. Bud Abbott and Lou Costello, or Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. The listeners voted, and the overwhelming winner was Abbott and Costello. The original air date is December the 23rd of 1948. and it's from their ABC program, and let's go ahead and take a listen.
Hey, Abbott, what time is it?
It's time for the Abbott and Costello Show. We're on the air for ABC here in Hollywood.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go with the Abbott and Costello Show.
Yes, it's the Abbott and Costello Show, produced and transcribed in Hollywood for your listening and laughing pleasure. Chuckles with a carload and music by Matty Malnick. So hold on to your chairs, folks, for here they are, Bud Abbott and Lou Costello.
Stop that yelling, Costello. Come over here. I need $10,000 in a hurry. Will you loan it to me? Ha ha! Haven't got that much, huh? Well, how about 8,000? Ha 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 ha! How about 5,000? 1,000? Costello, when are you going to stop that laughing?
When you get down to about $3.25.
I should have known better. If you stopped chasing girls, you'd have money.
I don't chase women, Abbott. I'm repulsive to women.
Repulsive to women? Who told you that?
Women.
Haven't you ever had a real girl, Lou?
Oh, yes, I have. Once, Abbott. Her name was Mabel Kumquat. Dear old Mabel Kumquat. Sweet kid.
Not bad.
Met her in a delicatessen factory in Patterson. I was a salami sniper.
A salami sniper?
Snipper.
All right, so what is it?
Well, a salami snipper? That's an endless chain of salami would go by me every 20 inches. I would go snip, snip.
Go on.
One day I looked up and there stood Mabel. I stood there looking at her for 15 minutes.
And what happened?
Abbott, did you ever see a salami 2 miles long?
And that was the start of your romance, eh?
Oh, yes. One night I took her up to Bung Mountain.
Wait a minute. There's no Bung Mountain in Patterson.
Abbott, when I take a girl up a mountain to a mountain, it's Bung. Then we became engaged. I slipped the ring on her finger. I didn't have a ring, so I used a cigar band.
Where did you get the cigar band?
Mabel happened to be smoking a White Owl at the time. I know it was a White Owl. I could smell the feathers.
Costello, you could graduate with honors from an idiot's college.
Thank you, Professor.
Hey, wait a minute, boys. Here's a serious-looking fella trying to get a word in edgewise. Let's see what he has to say.
Costello, stop that yelling. Where have you been?
I've been hiding my Christmas present.
Have you finished with your Christmas shopping, Lou?
No. On the way down here, I stopped at Nancy's department store, and boy, was that place crowded.
Lots of people, eh?
Ah, but it was so crowded. While I was in there, my belt broke, and it was 20 minutes before my pants fell down. Another thing, I can't stand those women shoppers.
What's wrong with women shoppers?
Well, I was standing by the notion counter. There was one woman there. She was turning everything bottom side up to see where it was made.
She was turning everything bottom side up?
Everything bottom side up. The floor worker saved me just in time.
Never mind that.
Would have got me for $1.94.
Look, Lou, skip that. Did you write your letter to Santa Claus yet?
Did I write my letter to Santa Claus?
Yes.
I ain't gonna tell you.
Oh, come on. Did you or did you not write a letter to Santa Claus?
Well, if you must know, I did. And I asked him to bring me a new bicycle.
But Santa Claus brought you a new bicycle, a brand new bicycle, 2 years ago.
Yes, but don't you think I'm old enough now to have a boy's bicycle?
Hello. I hate to interrupt your program, but I've got some bad news for you.
Out with it, man. What is it?
Mr. Costello, your Uncle Tom was just run over by a truck on Wilshire Boulevard.
My Uncle Tom was run over by a truck on Wilshire Boulevard? Thanks for telling me. Abbott.
What?
You got a pencil?
What do you want with a pencil?
I want to cross Uncle Tom off my Christmas list.
How can you say that, Costello? How can you be so heartless? Isn't there any love in your family around Christmas time?
Oh, sure. Our family all love each other. Last Christmas, my Aunt May gave my Uncle Mike a broken arm for Christmas.
A broken arm?
Yep.
What kind of a Christmas present is that?
Well, after she broke it, she wrapped it up as a gift.
I'll bet your house is a pleasant place around Christmas.
Oh, you should have been there last year. Aunt Alma called Uncle Jim a no good, and Aunt May hit her over the head with a vase. Then my uncle hit my brother Pat over the head with a cane-bottom chair, and then Uncle Tom hit my cousin Vincent with the umbrella stand, and my sister Marie fired 3 shots at my sister-in-law.
What happened?
Well, before you knew it, an argument started. Well, I want to tell you something, Abbott, and speaking of arguments, what are you going to get your wife for Christmas?
Well, I gave her some money. She wanted to buy herself a new corset.
Lovely.
Yes, but she can't seem to find one that will fill her budget.
She's so fat, nothing would fit her budget.
Costello, my wife is just pleasantly plump. She's not fat.
That reminds me, Abbott. My sister would like to borrow one of your wife's stockings to hang over the fireplace on Christmas Eve.
What does she want with one of my wife's stockings?
She's expecting a grand piano.
Are you trying to insinuate that my wife Betty is fat?
Well...
Did you ever see her in a bathing suit?
Yes, I have.
Repulsive, isn't it? Wait a minute. Who put that in this script?
I told you, Abbott, you should have bought those writers presents.
Did you buy the presents?
No, but I asked them what they wanted, and they said to me, Louie, you know what we like best. You just go out and get it, wrap it up, and put it under the Christmas tree.
Well, why didn't you do it?
Abbott, you can't wrap up a saloon.
Well, if you didn't get the writers anything, you should have at least bought their wives something.
I did, Abbott. I gave each one of them a corsage.
No, not corsage.
Corsage.
That's corsage. Spelled A-G-E is pronounced like odd, as in corsage or garage. Now, where did you get them?
From the man who picks up the garbage. Well, I gotta go now, Abbott. I gotta do some shopping for Louis B. Mayer. He wants me to get a box of cigars. He's gonna give them to Margaret O'Brien for Christmas.
Now, wait a minute. Why would you want to give Margaret O'Brien a box of cigars for Christmas?
He wants to stunt her growth.
All right, Costello, that did it. Now I'm going to tell you what I think of you. You're the lousiest comedian on the radio. You tell the worst jokes on the air, and furthermore...
It's my brother-in-law.
I wouldn't come to see your show again if you gave me $1 million. You stink!
Sounded good, Lou.
This guy means it. Tough guy, huh? You want to step outside and say that?
Certainly I'll step outside and say it. Why?
Well, there's a lot of people out there in front that couldn't get in the studio. Maybe they'd like to hear it, too.
That's what I thought. You're a yellow rat.
A yellow rat, that did it. I'm not taking that sitting down.
Oh, you're not, eh?
No. He got me, Abbott.
Where'd you get you, Costello?
As I said before, I'm not taking this sitting down.
Hello, boys.
Hey, look, Costello, it's our secretary, Viola Vaughn.
Why, Costello, I didn't expect to see you here tonight. I thought you'd be up at the North Pole looking for Santa Claus.
Nah, it's too cold up there. My Uncle Jim moved up there to the North Pole. Last I heard of him, he was keeping company with a girl polar bear, and he was going to get married.
To a girl polar bear? What stopped them?
Her parents objected.
If I remember right, your Uncle Jim took your cousin Vincent to Alaska with him, didn't he?
Yes, and one day Vincent was fishing for whales. He hooked one and started to pull in his line. Then the whale pulled, then Vincent pulled, then the whale pulled.
Where is Vincent now?
I don't know. But every time I get a postcard from him, he sends regards from Jonah.
Viola, you look so pretty. Why don't you and I step out together after the show? I'm in a gay mood tonight. I'm feeling my oats.
Yes, Abbott. Have you been out to lunch with Trigger again? There's no reason why Viola shouldn't go out with me. I'm a regular ladies' man. Why, women throw themselves at my feet.
I don't blame him. Anything to get away from that face.
Costello, it's my turn to go out with Viola. Why, you've been over to her house 5 nights running.
Oh, no, Mr. Abbott. Only 4 nights running. Last night my father didn't chase him. Look, there's no use in you boys fighting over me. I want to find a big, strong, robust, romantic man.
How about me?
Okay, you can help me look.
Costello, I don't blame Viola for not wanting to go out with you. You're fat, you're ugly, your front tooth is missing.
Oh, no, it's not. I got it right here in my pocket.
Costello, honey, what are you going to get me for Christmas? You know, I need a new car.
A new car?
Well, Costello, as soon as a new car prices come down a little, maybe you can get her a new car.
I don't think so, Abbott. I went to a dealer yesterday, and I said, how long will it be before I can get a new car for $900? He felt my pulse and says, you'll never make it.
Oh, forget about Viola. We've got a lot of people on this show, and we've got to get them Christmas presents. Come on. Let's go across the street to the department store. Gee, this store is crowded. Look over there. It's our band leader, Matty Malnick.
Hiya, fellas. I'm looking to buy some records. Costello, do you know where the music department is?
No, I don't.
Well, you take down this aisle to the escalator, then you take the escalator to the next floor, then you go towards the front of the store.
Just a minute, wait a minute. You asked me.
I asked you what?
How to get to the music department.
Well, you go down this aisle to the escalator, then you're right in.
Come on, now, get out of here. Matty Malnick.
Now, look, Costello.
Some musician. He just don't give a toot.
Look, Costello. Costello, there's Santa Claus in the toy department.
Hey, come on over there. I want to talk to him.
Are you Santa Claus?
Oh, yes. I'm Santa Claus. Yes, little man. Oh! What's the idea of kicking me in the leg?
That's for last year.
Costello, that's no way to act. Santa Claus is here to find out what you want for Christmas. Now, go ahead and tell him what you want for Christmas.
Gee, Santa Claus, I wish that Christmas morning I could find Rita Hayworth in my stocking.
With those fat legs of yours, you'd have plenty of room for the Andrews sisters.
Say, Santa Claus, that was pretty good.
Oh, it's nothing. I tell those jokes all the time up at the North Pole.
Who's your straight man?
A penguin.
You want to trade?
No, I don't want to trade. I'm too fond of this penguin. I keep him in a bottle of ink.
Oh, a fountain penguin.
Santa Claus. Costello is just a kid at heart. He craves affection. The thing for you to do is mother him.
Oh, well, that's different.
Sure.
Here. Come on, get up on my knee, fat boy. Now, put your head under my beard. Now I've got you.
Santa Claus, what are you doing? I told you to mother him.
Oh, I thought you said smother him.
Break it up, men, but it's time to change the subject for just about 60 seconds.
Here's our musical Christmas gift to all of you. Hal Winters in a Christmas song, along with Matty Malnick and his music.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. It doesn't show signs of stopping, and I brought some corn for popping. The lights are turned way down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. When we finally kiss goodnight, how I'll hate going out in the storm. But if you really hold me tight, all the way home I'll be warm. The fire is slowly dying, and my dear, we're still goodbying. But as long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. When we finally kiss goodnight, how I'll hate going out in the storm. But if you'll really hold me tight, all the way home I'll be warm. The fire is slowly dying, and my dear, we're still goodbying. But as long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Summer Song by Hal Winters. Hey, Abbott.
Hi.
My brother Pat just told me some wonderful news. Tomorrow he starts playing with the girls in Phil Spitali's orchestra.
What instrument will he play?
No instrument. He's just going to play with the girls.
I thought your brother was a musician.
No, he's a singer. He sings just like Nelson Eddy.
Does he sing shortening bread?
Well, he could, but the places he sings in are so small and narrow, he can't sing shortening bread. He's got to sing right crisp.
Never mind that. What are you doing with that newspaper?
I wanted to show it to you, Abbott. My Sam Shovel Detective series is becoming so popular, the newspapers have taken it off the radio page and put it on the front page. Look.
Wait a minute. I don't see it on the front page.
There it is, there it is. Under crimes committed in Los Angeles today. And besides that, I'm getting more fan mail than ever. Listen to this one. Dear Lou Costello, if your Sam Shovel Detective series is not the funniest program on the air, then I'm not the next president of the United States.
Who's it from?
Tom Dewey.
Well, never mind that. What is your Sam Shovel Detective mystery for tonight?
It's one of my latest cases, Abbott. I call it the case of Clarence, the dress designer who gave himself up to the police, or I'm all yours in buttons and bows.
And now to the further adventures of Sam Shovel, Private Detective.
Yes, I'm Sam Shovel. Sam Shovel, Private Detective. I'm sitting here in my little office. It's mighty chilly in here. I think I'll throw another log on the fire. Every time I build a log fire in my office, the landlord complains. Maybe it's because I have no fireplace. I pick up the newspaper. I drop it on my desk. It was the Mirror. I read the one ads. Woman who washes Mondays and Tuesdays wants place to hang out on Wednesdays. Here's another one. Wanted man to teach nuclear division of atomic astrophysical cyclotronic fissures. No experience necessary. I glance out of my window to see what's playing in the movie across the street.
Chicago. Cleveland. Boston.
Must be that new picture, The Cry of the City. Next door to the movie is a Hollywood nightclub. Those Hollywood nightclubs cut the liquor so much the bartenders have to have a barber's license. In the winter, they have to put alcohol in the whiskey to keep it from freezing. I remember once my pal, Lieutenant Abbott of the Homicide Squad, was so disgusted that he went into that joint to drink himself to death. He didn't get drunk, but there was so much water in the whiskey he nearly drowned. Suddenly the phone rings. Sam Shovel speaking.
Sam Shovel, you're on the spot. Get wise to yourself. You've got to play ball with us.
Who are you?
UCLA football team. We'll play anybody.
One line went south. I look out the window again. Crowds, nothing but crowds. Everybody doing the last-minute Christmas shopping. The crowds give me an idea. I'm going to write to my congressman and have him change Christmas to April. The stores aren't so crowded then. In the crowd, I see my pal, Lieutenant Abbott. Abbott is the cheapest guy in the world all year round. But when Christmas comes, he'd give you the shirt off his back. I know. Last year for Christmas, he gave me a dirty shirt. Lieutenant Abbott is a great detective. He worked on the Morelli case, and in 2 days he had it sewed up. Then he got the Murray case, and it only took him 3 days to sew that up. Then came the famous Lewis case. He sewed it up in 24 hours. He never carried a gun. Just a sewing machine and 3 extra bobbins.
Hello, Sam Shovel. Sam, tomorrow's Christmas Eve, and I dropped in to find out what you want for Christmas.
Well, I live just a stone's throw from Hetty Lamar's house, and my bedroom window is just a stone's throw from her window.
What do you want for Christmas, Sam?
A stone. Lieutenant, why don't you send me some mistletoe so I can kiss the girls under it?
That's not mistletoe. That's mistletoe. Missile, not muscle.
When I want to kiss a girl, I gotta use muscle.
Sam, I want you to help me on a job. I've been assigned to guard a department store during the Christmas rush.
I guarded the Broadway Hollywood store last Christmas. I put a man on the 5th Street door, a man on the Broadway door, a man on the 6th Street door.
How did you make out?
They didn't lose a single door. But all the windows were stolen.
Come on, Sam. We're going down to the store right now. Sam, this is a big store. They sell anything from sailboats to a pound of pecans.
I see. They got everything from sloop to nuts.
Come, gentlemen, you'll have to go to work right away. The shoplifters are stealing everything in aisle 9.
Where is aisle 9?
Well, this is aisle 7, that's aisle 8, and that... How do you like that? They stole aisle 9.
I think I like this job. Say, who is that gorgeous girl behind the crowded counter?
Oh, that's Miss Fairchild. She works in ladies' slippers.
She's beautiful. What else does she do?
She just works in ladies' slippers, that's all.
Hey, wait a minute. Look, that kid. He just stole a pair of roller skates. I'll get him.
You let go of me! Let me go, you copper! Let me go!
I'll teach you to steal. I'm going to lock you up.
Lieutenant, I'll take charge of this case. You keep your eye on the store. Come with me, son.
Please don't take me to jail. Please don't take me to jail.
I didn't have the heart to take that kid to jail. He didn't look like a bad kid. He was poorly dressed. His face was dirty, but I could still see some of his freckles. His name was Johnny. I took him to my little office and sat him down in a chair. I could see he was scared, plenty scared.
Gee, Mr. Shovel, I don't want to go to jail.
And I don't want you to go to jail, son. That's why I brought you here. Those were plenty expensive roller skates you took off the counter in that store, Johnny.
Oh, gee, they were only $1.98.
I'm not talking about the cost in money, Johnny. It's the cost in shame and disgrace. Not only to you, but to your mom and your dad.
Gee, I never thought about that. Mom and Dad.
That's the trouble with doing a wrong thing, Johnny. Most time it hurts others more than the guy that does it.
Gee, you're a funny guy. You're supposed to be a detective, a cop. And me and the kids in my neighborhood, we ain't got no use for coppers. But gee, I kind of like you. You don't talk like no cop. You're more like a friend.
Johnny, cops aren't bad guys. Every cop on the force wants to be the friends with every kid on his beat. When a kid is in trouble, if he'd run to a cop instead of away from him, he'd find out that cops are pretty regular fellows. You see, Johnny, you're a kid and I'm a cop. But lucky for us, we're both living in a wonderful country. A country that's interested in the welfare of its children. Our police know that no kid wants to be bad. It's just bad environment. Neglect on the part of parents. Lack of love and understanding. That makes a kid go wrong.
Yeah? And are you sure that all cops is my friends?
All cops, Johnny.
Aha, there you are.
Even him?
Even him.
I don't know what this is all about, Sam. But I gotta get this kid to the lockup. This is Christmas Eve, and I gotta...
You gotta get a little of the Christmas spirit, Lieutenant. I think Johnny's very sorry for what he did. He'll never do it again.
Well, he tried to get away from me. He ran from the law. That's a sign of guilt.
Honest, I won't never do it again. I promise I won't.
Besides, Lieutenant, I think I've made Johnny understand that cops are his friends.
Yeah? Johnny, if you know that cops are a kid's best friends, you've really learned something.
Yeah, well, there's only one thing that puzzles me.
What is it, Johnny?
Well, Lieutenant Abbott's a cop, ain't he?
Yes?
Well, how could a guy with a face like that be any kind of a cop?
Oh, Johnny. Johnny, it's Christmas Eve. Listen.
Well, it's Christmas Eve again. I promised my wife I'd be in church, saying my prayers and singing hymns. And here I am in this broken down...
You don't have to be in church for that, Lieutenant. How about it, Johnny? Know the words to that song?
Yeah, I think so.
Johnny, let's try it, huh? What do you say?
Costello will have the last word as usual. But before they do, we'd like you to ponder this.
Costello, before signing off, let's wish all our listeners a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody. And I'd also like to say Merry Christmas to our fine crew that helped us put the show together. Our writing staff, which is headed by Eddie Fulmer, with Paul Conlon, Pat Costello, Martin Ragaway, and Leonard Stern.
Now, don't forget the swell boys of the band and our leader, Matty Melnick, and our vocalist, Hal Winters.
And a Merry Christmas to our producer, Charles Vander.
Good night, folks.
Good night, everybody, and Merry Christmas to everybody in Patterson, New Jersey, and all over the world.
Listen each Thursday night at this time for another great Abbott and Costello show, produced and transcribed in Hollywood. And be sure to stay tuned for the outstanding entertainment which follows throughout the evening on this ABC station.
Welcome back. Well, a fun program, chock full of the great Abbott and Costello wordplay, which they did a lot of on the radio to make up the lack of physical comedy. The Sam Shovel thing, I'm glad to be able to play. It was essentially a attempt to riff on the radio detective programs, which were so big. 1948 was probably the height of it. It's not really satire, and probably most of it is pretty absurd to be making fun of something specifically about detective programs. This one is a bit different, and there is a nice shift towards the end. Even though it might seem odd to modern-day listeners, there was a big concern about juvenile delinquency after World War II. And Lou Costello was very much intimately involved in efforts to combat it and to really help kids out. It was actually the way that he dealt with the death of his young son in a tragic accident, and he set up the Lou Costello Jr. Foundation and did a lot of work with kids and a lot of good for them over the course of the rest of his life. Well, that will be all for today. I am recording this on December the 4th, so I don't know what my listeners are actually going to vote for Thursday's show, but I can promise there will be music. Join us on Thursday for the next episode of The Amazing World of Radio. This program is brought to you by the support of our Patreon supporters at patreon.greatdetectives.net. Well, for our final Christmas program, we're going to turn to something that's, for many people, almost indispensable to celebrating Christmas, and that's the Hallmark Company. And many of us grew up with the Hallmark Hall of Fame on television, and Hallmark cards have continued to be, for decades, one of those brands that is viewed pretty much the same as it has been since the 1940s and 50s, and with much the same model. Certainly little bits of innovation, but both the cards and the way they market them are very similar, going back to the golden age of radio. And Hallmark actually ran a few different programs. It first sponsored Radio Reader's Digest, which had some stories that fit with the feel of Hallmark and some that didn't. And then it did the Hallmark Playhouse and later the Hallmark Hall of Fame. And so we're going to bring you an episode from that. And it's about something that's also indispensable to many of us at Christmas time. And it's about a particular Christmas carol. And now, from December the 23rd of 1948, here is the Hallmark Playhouse and Silent Night.
A Hallmark card when you care enough to send the very best. Tonight, from Hollywood, the makers of Hallmark greeting cards bring you Mr. James Hilton in Herta Pauley's The Story of Silent Night on the Hallmark Playhouse. Each week, Hallmark brings you outstanding stories chosen by one of the world's best-known authors, Mr. James Hilton.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is James Hilton. Tonight on our Hallmark Playhouse, we tell you the story of how that wonderful Christmas song, Silent Night, came to be written 130 years ago. This story was told recently to a writer named Herta Pauley by the grandson of the man who wrote the music of Silent Night. Christmas, the year of our Lord 1948. 1,948 years from the miracle of Bethlehem. Christmas, the birth date of the Prince of Peace. The birth date of hope and faith. The birth date of a miracle. In Bethlehem, 3 kings knelt and proffered gifts from the east. Since Bethlehem, many gifts, recorded and unrecorded, have been created of man's love of God and humbly offered in his honor. What you are to hear tonight will tell you of one such gift offered by 2 humble men 130 years ago this Christmas week. This, too, is the story of a miracle that was born one silent night. We are going back now through the arches of the years, back 130 Christmas Eve, to meet a man named Joseph Moore, Father Joseph Moore. Those voices you can just barely distinguish are all voices that have said Merry Christmas through the years. Their sentiment remains and lingers on the Christmas air like a blessing. And now we are in the Austrian Alps, in a small village. The year is 1818. In the center of the town, near a swift-flowing stream, stands a whitewashed church with a tall, red-topped steeple. There are the church bells. They have a special joyousness tonight, as all church bells seem to have on Christmas Eve. Come now, we'll meet Father Moore. He's in his study, and his heart's a little heavy, because the church organ has broken down and there'll be no music for the Christmas service.
Good evening, Father Moore.
Oh, good evening. Come in.
You don't know me, Father, but I'm in your parish. I've come from one of the charcoal makers' families. A child has been born to them tonight, and they beg that you come and bless the baby that it may live and prosper.
Have I time to go and return for my sermon?
Yes, Father.
Well, then I'll go at once.
And so it was that on Christmas Eve of the year 1818, Father Joseph Moore followed a woman up the rocky foothills of the Alps to a simple hut and blessed a baby on Christmas Eve.
Seems like a miracle that her child should be born this night.
Birth itself is a miracle. God has blessed her with a beautiful son on the most holy night of the year. And God has blessed me by guiding me here.
Father Moore walked down the snowy mountain, transfixed, transfigured. He thought of the baby and of the sacred night, and words began to stir and form themselves within him.
Holy night, silent night, holy night. All is calm, all is bright. Silent night, holy night. All is calm, all is bright.
Round yon Virgin Mother and Child.
Silent night, holy night. All is calm, all is bright.
Round yon Virgin Mother and Child. Holy infant, so tender and mild.
Silent night, holy night. All is calm, all is bright.
How simple is the coming of a miracle to a stable in Bethlehem, to the heart of a man. After Father Moore had solemnized the Mass, he sat all night in his study, writing down the words that filled his heart. And when dawn came, he took the poem he had written to Franz Gruber.
Father, this is a fine poem.
I rather heard it as a song, Franz. I thought you might set it to music.
Thank you, Father. I should like to try.
And so the words that Father Moore had heard on Christmas Eve became music to Franz Gruber on Christmas Day. And before nightfall, he came to Father Moore's house.
I've written the music, Father. I wrote it for guitar and voice rather than the organ. After all, we have no way of knowing when the organ can be used.
Please, sing it. Let me hear it.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace.
In a neighboring Austrian province lies a valley, the Zillertal. And from the Zillertal, a few days after Christmas, came the organ builder, Karl Mauracher.
Well, now, Father Moore, Mr. Gruber, I think I have the organ in working order now. The mice had eaten holes in the bellows, but this leather patch should solve all your problems.
May I try it?
Well, go ahead.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright.
I've never heard that song before, Father.
Franz and I wrote it at Christmas.
I've never heard a song like it. Would you teach me? I know people would like to learn it down in the Zillertal.
We'll be happy to teach it to you. Won't we, Franz?
We will be honored.
And so the hymn that was born on Christmas night started its journey out into the wide world. Karl Mauracher took the song down into the Zillertal. Silent Night was on its way from a small church high in the Alps to the cathedrals of the earth. All the children in the Zillertal loved to sing, and they all sang well. But of them all, the ones with the most beautiful voices were the four Strasser children, Caroline, Joseph, Andreas, and Amalie. And the organ builder worked painstakingly to teach them the song. On Christmas Eve, they stood in the doorway and sang it as a Christmas gift for their parents.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace.
Oh, what a wonderful Christmas gift.
You sang that beautifully. I'm proud of you.
The organ builder taught it to us.
Thank you, Mr. Mauracher.
I hoped in the spring when Mr. Strasser takes the gloves to sell at the fair in Leipzig, perhaps he would find a way for you to sing the song there.
Sing at the fair.
We aren't good enough to do that.
We could never do it.
Why do you want them to sing the song there, Mr. Mauracher? Well, to me, this song is almost like a song from heaven. The words came to Father Moore on Christmas Eve. The melody to the schoolmaster, Gruber, on Christmas Day. They gave it to their parish, and then it was given to me to carry down into the valley of the Zillertal. I, in turn, give it to you to take to Leipzig. Someone in Leipzig will take it on the next step of its journey.
Where is it going?
Who knows, little Amalie? Perhaps everywhere.
But who in Leipzig?
I don't know that either. But someone will make him or herself known to you, and the song from heaven will go on across the earth. Will you take it to Leipzig and send it on its way?
Oh, yes. Of course we will.
Who are you children?
They are my children, sir. I'm Strasser from the Zillertal. This is my glove stand. We're here at the fair to sell chamois gloves.
Your children have beautiful voices, Mr. Strasser.
Yes. They sing every afternoon, and the people stop to listen to them just as you saw today.
And do they also buy the gloves?
Yes, I think it helps business. In any case, it does not harm it.
It was their song that caught my attention.
The song, sir?
Yes, I have never heard it before. My name is Polenz. I am the Director General of Music in the Kingdom of Saxony.
The Director General of Music?
Yes, I wanted to ask you children if you would care to appear at a concert one of these days.
A concert?
Oh, that would be terrible.
I'm afraid they aren't experienced enough, Mr. Polenz.
We must do it. We promised Mr. Morocco we've got to do it. It doesn't matter if we aren't good, as long as we sing it. We'll be happy to sing at a concert, Mr. Pollens.
Well, we may not be happy, but we'll do it.
Good. Next Tuesday, then, at the Gewandhaus, there will be an orchestra concert. Perhaps at the close of the concert, you will honor us with this song. The King and Queen will be there.
The King and Queen? Your Majesty.
Your Highness, we are honored.
Honored?
Well, children, don't look at the floor. Look at us. We want to see your faces.
I think they have a slight case of fright, Your Majesty.
We don't want you to be afraid of us. We have children just about your age.
Mr. Pollens has told us you sing a wonderful song that you call the Song from Heaven. We're looking forward to hearing it.
If we just didn't have to sing it before all those people.
Now, some of them are the same people you sang it for at the fair.
Your Majesty, it's almost time for the concert to start. With your permission.
Just close your eyes, children, and pretend you're singing at home.
And the King and Queen smiled and listened, and listening with them was the director of the Berlin Cathedral Choir. It was he who heard the song in Leipzig and took it on the next step of its journey to Berlin and the court of the emperor.
In a moment, James Hilton will return to bring you the second act of The Story of Silent Night. You've been so busy buying gifts for others, now let me tell you about a Christmas present for you from the friendly store where you find Hallmark greeting cards. It's a Hallmark date book. I have one in my hand now, and what a little beauty it is, from the colorful camellia on the cover to the last pink and white page in the book. It's just the right size to tuck away in your purse or keep beside your telephone, and so useful you'll always be referring to it. Just inside the cover, there's a place for your name and a list of important dates, like Easter and Mother's Day. Turn the page, and there's a calendar for January 1949, with a space beside each date for jotting down things to remember, social engagements, appointments, anniversaries. There's also room for names and addresses of people you'll want to remember during January. And so for every month of the year, right through to December. You'll find it especially valuable right now because at the back of the book there's a place for your next year's Christmas card list, room for names and addresses, and an easy way to mark Christmas cards sent and cards received. You'll find so many uses for this handy Hallmark date book. Why not get your copy right away? It's yours without obligation, a Christmas gift to you from the friendly store where you find Hallmark greeting cards. Now back to James Hilton and the second act of The Story of Silent Night.
Those voices are the men of the Berlin Cathedral Choir singing for the Emperor on Christmas Day. There's the Emperor in the royal pew singing with them. No, he stopped singing. Look at his face. He's glaring at that hymn book.
What do you mean you don't know who wrote that song? Are you my concertmaster or are you not my concertmaster?
Well, I am your concertmaster at the moment, sire.
Well, look at the hymn book. Just look at this page. What does it say?
Silent Night.
And what else does it say?
Author and composer unknown.
I want to know who wrote that hymn. Concertmaster, you've spoiled my whole Christmas, the trees, the gifts, even the dinner. If a thing is unknown, I wish it made known. I want order in my hymn book. I want it as soon as possible. You would start out today in search of the name of the composer of Silent Night.
Yes, sire.
And so it was that Concertmaster Ludwig Erck started out to trace the origin of Silent Night. He went to big cities, he went to small villages. He talked to the young, to the old. Long, worrisome months kept pace beside him. And at last, even though he knew what he had to face in the anger of the king, he knew he had to give up. He sat, alone and disconsolate, in a small village inn near the Austrian border.
Will there be anything else, sir?
No, that'll be all. Oh, hush.
You don't like the bird's song, sir?
The bird? I thought it was my own mind. That's the song I've been hunting for. Who taught it to him?
I don't know, sir. A traveler sold him to us. The man said he had bought the bird in Salzburg in St. Peter's Abbey.
Salzburg? Well, then, I shall go to Salzburg.
To Salzburg, to St. Peter's Abbey, which had been built 1,000 years after the birth of Christ. Concertmaster Erck walked through a dark pillared archway into a vaulted room and stood where Father Joseph Moore had stood so many times in the years gone by.
Silent Night? No, I have no recollection of it. How did you happen to come to us, sir?
I heard a bullfinch in the tune, Father. The innkeeper told me the bird came from this abbey.
No, we don't allow any of our students to train songbirds here. We consider it a cruel practice to deprive God's creatures of their freedom.
I see. Well, perhaps it was a mistake.
Come, it's late. Have some dinner with us and then spend the night.
Yes?
Ow, you're hurting my ear.
Well, what is this?
Here come Ambrosius Pensteiner, the choir inspector here at the Abbey. And this is young Felix Gruber.
Oh, my ear. I'm going to tell my father on you.
I was told about your inquiries concerning the bullfinch. This young rascal trained him.
You trained him?
It didn't hurt the bird.
Where did you learn that song that you taught him?
The song?
You heard the gentleman, the song.
My father wrote it.
Your father?
Yes, sir.
Where is your father?
In the village of Helene.
Helene. Mr. Pensteiner, do you think you could arrange for this boy to have a day or two off so I could go with him to Helene?
Well, you'll have to talk to the abbot, but I'm sure it can be arranged.
And now young Felix Gruber and Concertmaster Erck are tucked in a fine sleigh behind a team of the Abbey's finest horses. The bells sing out gaily across the clean, crisp air, and the snow crunches under the horses' hooves. Now they are going through the pass above Helene, and now they're skimming down the main street to the market square before the church. And now they are pulling up before the small, friendly house which is the home of Franz Gruber. And so it was at last. Concertmaster Erck sat with the composer of Silent Night.
Mr. Gruber, I bring you and Father Moore the compliments of the king and the whole country.
Well. Father Moore is dead. God rest his soul, these 6 years past.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes. Yes, he was a fine man. Do you have all 6 stanzas to the song?
No, we have only 4.
Felix, hand me the guitar, please.
Here, Father.
Silent night, holy night, pouring forth all the might of our Father's love and grace, as Jesus spoke in our brother's embrace. All the nations of man, all the nations of man.
And so the words and the facts are taken down, and above the music will be the names Gruber and Moore. Concertmaster Erck walks out through the snow after dinner, and as he walks, he looks up at the snow-covered Alps that Father Moore loved. And Franz Gruber watches him from the window and wishes regretfully that Father Joseph Moore had been here to see his song brought back in triumph to the village of Halle. So you have journeyed back 130 Christmas Eve to meet a man named Father Joseph Moore, and the schoolteacher, Franz Gruber, and Karl Mauracher, the organ builder, and the Strassers, and all the rest who had a part in carrying the song from a village high in the Alps down into the world. Yes, now it has bridged 130 Christmas Eve. Now it has been sung by the old and the young, the rich and the poor. It has been sung in every language, in every country of the world. It has become a prayer that men can live together in one world as brothers, and that there be indeed peace on earth, goodwill toward men. You have heard the story of a miracle that was born one silent night.
Before James Hilton returns to tell you about our story for next week, I'd like to tell you about Hallmark New Year's cards. They're as bright and gay as a New Year's party. They're a thoughtful expression of friendship, and they're the best way I know to remember someone you may have overlooked when you sent your Christmas card. Remember, these are Hallmark cards. When friends receive them and glance at the back, as you did, they'll see the Hallmark and know you cared enough to send the very best. Here again is James Hilton.
The story of Silent Night and the music you have just heard has all the beauty and joy and happiness of Christmas. There's nothing anyone can add to it. But I would like to introduce the man who's responsible for the splendid music you just heard. I know you'd like to meet him, because so many of you have written us to praise his music. He's Lynn Murray, the musical director of the Hallmark Playhouse, whose work contributes so much to the success of our performances every week. Lynn, I personally want to thank you, not only on my own behalf, but for all our Hallmark people everywhere, for helping to make our Playhouse musically outstanding.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. You know, I enjoy working with you and all the rest of the people here. It's very satisfying to be with people who are always working toward perfection. But I suppose that's quite natural when you realize that our sponsors are the people who make Hallmark cards. You know, Jimmy, writing music for a dramatic presentation has a parallel in the making of greeting cards. In our work, we try to compose the exact music to fit the story that is being told, to underline every mood, character, and change of scene. And Hallmark greeting cards always seem to express the fitting sentiment for every occasion. And by the way, I want to ask our audience to be sure to listen next week when we will dramatize your own book, Lost Horizon, with one of Hollywood's finest actors, Herbert Marshall. And the following week, it'll be our pleasure to present Louis Bromfield's MacLeod's Folly, starring Robert Young.
And now, for all of us here in the Playhouse, for our director-producer, Dee Engelbach, for Jean Holloway, who dramatized tonight's story, for the Hallmark dealers whom you see in your own cities, for everyone who is proudly a member of the Hallmark family, we wish you, our friends, a very, very Merry Christmas. Until next Thursday, then, this is James Hilton saying good night.
Look for Hallmark cards that are sold only in stores that have been carefully selected to give you expert and friendly service. Remember Hallmark cards when you care enough to send the very best. This is Frank Goss saying good night to you all until next week at the same time when James Hilton returns to present Herbert Marshall in Lost Horizon, and the following week MacLeod's Folly starring Robert Young. This program came to you from the Hallmark Playhouse. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Given that my primary hosting duty is on the great detectives of old-time radio, it was interesting to hear a program that featured two great detective actors in Gerald Moore and Jeff Chandler, Philip Marlowe and Michael Shayne from The New Adventures of Michael Shayne. I guess that Berlin music director learned a lesson about playing unattributed music. Of course, that's not the only unattributed song out there that's in the hymnal. In fact, there are several I've seen. Thankfully, no gigs, so we can't make the person go and search the world to find out who actually wrote it. It's a very interesting story and an unexpected origin for a great Christmas carol. Because it's hard for me to imagine either the world or Christmas without this song. And it's actually only been around a little less than 200 years. It's one of those things, because if you listen to radio from the 1940s and 50s, they'll often talk about songs that they expect to last for all time, and you listen to the song and you're like, I've never heard this before. That's because it was forgotten. But Silent Night is just one of those that really has lived on and will continue to do so. All right, well, that will do it for today, and we'll conclude this year's Christmas series of The Amazing World of Radio. We'll be back next month with a special limited series of old-time radio podcast for about 5 to 6 weeks, so be sure and listen for that. Well, it's time to get our Christmas program going on The Amazing World of Radio, and we're starting off with Grand Central Station. Grand Central Station was a very successful radio anthology series. It was on the air for 17 years, from 1937 to 1954, bouncing around between ABC, NBC, and CBS. It started out on the Bloop Network, which was the predecessor to ABC. It was known for a couple of things. First, it was known for the great opening, which you're going to hear in a moment, and it was also known for its Christmas special. Starting in 1944, every year they had a standard Christmas special that was very well beloved, and one of those airings does survive, so we're going to take a listen to it. The original air date on this program is December the 24th, 1949, and this one is Miracle for Christmas.
From New York, Pillsbury's best enriched flour brings you Grand Central Station. All start, shining rails in every part of our great country are aimed at Grand Central Station, heart of the nation's greatest city. Drawn by the magnetic force of fantastic metropolis, day and night great trains rush toward the Hudson River, sweep down its eastern bank for 140 miles, flash briefly with the long red-road tram houses south of 125th Street, dive with a roar into the 2.5-mile tunnel which burrows beneath the glitter and swank of Park Avenue, and then Grand Central Station, crossroads of a million private lives, gigantic stage in which are played 1,000 dramas daily. Now, for the 6th consecutive year, Pillsbury Mills of Minneapolis presents with pride Grand Central Station's traditional Christmas play, a drama you will long remember.
This is Galen Drake, and before we get into our Christmas story, I want to say just a word about the 3 top prize-winning recipes in Pillsbury's Grand National Recipe and Baking Contest. The grand prize was awarded for a recipe for Pillsbury's $50,000 no-need water-rising twists. The second prize of $10,000 was for Starlight Mint Surprise Cookies. And the third prize of $4,000 was for a chocolate cake, Aunt Carrie's Bonbon Cake. Now, there's $64,000 worth of prize-winning recipes. Recipes won with Pillsbury's best flour. Now, as you know, you always bake your best with Pillsbury's best, and we have those 3 recipes ready for you now, and we'll be glad to send them to you. You just drop a penny postcard to Ann Pillsbury, Prize Recipe Department, Minneapolis 2, Minnesota, and she'll send you your copy. Ann Pillsbury, Prize Recipe Department, Minneapolis 2, Minnesota.
After the train from Albany pulled in, no one, not a single person, actually saw the young man with soft brown hair and soft brown eyes come through the gate. Still unseen, he walks the length of the great waiting room, now strangely tranquil as travel ebbs on Christmas Eve. Quietly, he goes out the door, down the street, and then up the broad marble stairs of the hospital. When the girl at the switchboard turns to him...
What can I do for you, sir?
Without saying a word, he gives her a card. She's startled by the name on it and instantly announces him to the hospital superintendent.
Dr. Mason is here to see you.
Mason? Dr. Mason who applied for an internship?
Yes, Dr. Garrett, it is Dr. Mason from Albany.
But that's impossible.
Shall I ask him about the telegram?
No, I'll do it. Send him in, please.
Yes, sir. Dr. Garrett will see you, sir. First door to the left.
Dr. Garrett. Dr. Mason? You are Dr. Mason?
I'm sorry that I was delayed, Dr. Garrett.
But just 10 minutes ago,
Yes. 10 minutes ago, you received a telegram.
Why, that's right.
I know.
From your mother.
I know.
But, man, Why, look at it. It says that you...
That I was killed. Do you mind if I tear up that telegram, Dr. Garrett?
Well, I don't understand. I was so unnerved by that wire. I'd counted so much on your being here tonight. Christmas Eve. A night always busy with calls.
You are short of interns.
Oh, yes. Mason, these are the slums. Walk through block after block and you won't see a doctor's shingle. Not one. The people here are too poor. They know only one healer. The intern and his ambulance.
And tonight, night of mercy and goodwill, they would have cried out in vain.
Well, now that you've come, I won't have to say to the suffering, wait. There's only one ambulance tonight, and that's out on a call. Wait and suffer. I have no one to send to you because Dr. Mason was killed. It's good that you're here, Mason. It's good.
It's good to be here, Dr. Garrett.
Well, you better get started. Take this slip down to the storeroom, see that they give you a warm sheepskin coat.
Thank you.
And a pair of mittens. From there, you go to the ambulance room. I'll have your driver waiting for you. His name is Mac.
My name is Mac. The chief says I drive your crate tonight.
Crate?
Crate, jalopy, sick buggy, ambulance, take your pick.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You green interns, you're all the same. The first time you spy an ambulance, your eyes pop wide, like you've seen a heavenly chariot or something. Not me. I've been driving this old baby for 8 rotten years.
An ambulance, Mac, is a sacred thing. It is a chariot of mercy.
Uh-oh, 2 bells, that says. Come on, Mason, that's your first call.
234 South Street. 234 South Street. 234 South Street.
Look, pal, help me out by watching out for cars cutting in at the cross streets. We don't stop for no red lights. Look, Doc, what did I tell you? Watch it or we'll both be killed. Holy cow, you new interns. You're all alike. You're always dreaming. You put on a white coat and pants and your head goes up in the clouds.
Why are you so bitter, Mac?
Why shouldn't I be bitter? If it wasn't for you, I'd be home with the wife right now.
You truly believe that only because of me...
Yeah. If you hadn't showed up, this ambulance would be parked in the garage, for crying out loud. I would have had the night off like on a decent job.
To you, driving an ambulance is just a job like any other?
Yeah, nothing but. Boy, will I be glad when the shift is over.
But, Mac, this is Christmas Eve.
You're telling me?
This is one night at least you could forget that driving an ambulance is a job. This one night you could look upon it as an errand of mercy.
An errand of mercy? You know where we're going?
To help someone afflicted.
Afflicted with alcohol, you mean? I'll give you 2 to 1 and we're making a stew call.
Stew call?
Yeah, Mason. We're risking our necks tearing through traffic to give some drunk a whiff of smelling salts.
Any man who cries out for help, whether he be brimful of drink or empty of blood, his call shall be answered.
Yes, says you. Come on, Mason, make a snap. We ain't got all night. What did I tell you? No good drunk. Here's your bag, Doc.
Thank you, Mac. I won't need it.
But he's out cold, Mason. Come on, give him a whiff of the stuff quick when we blow.
Quiet, Mac. Come now. Open your eyes, sir.
He calls the drunk, sir. Look, Mason, here's the spirit of ammonia. Hold it under his nose, will you? That always wakes him up.
Quiet, Mac. Come, sir. Open your eyes.
That's right, Mason. You just talk pretty to him and he'll open his eyes.
Where am I? Why is everybody laughing? What's the matter?
Nothing. Just put your arm around my shoulder. That's it. Now, let me help you to stand up straight. There. Now, you feel better?
Why, suddenly I feel all right. I feel fine. My head is so clear.
Of course. All you needed was to stand on your own 2 feet. To be strong. Be of good cheer.
Gosh, Doc. That's sure wonderful medicine you give me.
Medicine? What kind of gag you pulling? He didn't give you no medicine. There was nothing the matter with you. You toss off a beer and you lay down in the street like you're out calling. We waste an ambulance on you. I got a mind to take a poke at you.
That'll be enough, Mac. Tell me, sir, what is your name?
Well, if it's all the same to you...
Come on. Give me your name. He's got to make out his report.
Pete Lanton, Doctor.
Peter, you won't lose faith again. You will stand up, self-reliant, and you will face life courageously and with new hope.
Come on, Mason. We ain't got all night. Let's get going.
Doc.
Yes, Peter?
A Merry Christmas to you, Doc.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Mason. Dr. Mason, I'd like to speak to you.
Yes?
Mason, Mac tells me you didn't even open your bag on your first call.
No, it wasn't necessary.
Well, now, don't misunderstand me, Mason. I can't begin to tell you how thankful I am that you're with us this evening, but...
But from now on, I'm not to use suggestion.
Or whatever it was you did use. Please follow standard materia medica in treating your cases. You're not offended?
Of course not.
Oh, that's fine, Dr. Mason. That's your call again.
Third floor. 19 Water Street, third floor. 19 Water Street, third floor.
Well, Mac, you seem to be good at guessing. You were right the last time. What sort of call is this one going to be?
It's no guessing, it's experience. This time it's no drunk.
Oh? What do you think it is?
A birth, or maybe a death.
Christmas Eve. And someone is to live or die. It is better that one should live on Christmas Eve. Mac, let it be a birth we're going to.
It's no difference to me, Doc, a birth or a death. I just drive.
How long have you been doing it, Mac?
Oh, like I told you, 8 rotten years, that's how long.
What you call 8 rotten years were truly 8 glorious years, filled with service to your fellow men.
Cut the chatter, Mason, this is it. Number 19 at the Red Brick House upstairs. Come on, make a snappy, it's 3rd floor rear.
Doctor, here!
Keep your shirt on, we're coming.
Even if you hurry. Doctor.
Tears on Christmas Eve, young man.
I'm afraid you're too late.
You thought it'd be a birth. You're wrong, Mason. It sure looks like...
Wait, Mac. Don't say it. No. Perhaps we're not too late. Tell me, how is the mother?
She's all right. But our baby...
Yes, your baby.
Crippled. Terribly crippled. We prayed for our child to be born on Christmas Eve. We thought we'd be so happy tonight.
Come now, come. No tears. Not on Christmas Eve. I'll have a look at the infant. Wait here, both.
Make a snappy, Mason. Doc Garrett's always nervous when all the amulets are out. It's only 9 o'clock. Hey, what's the idea of bringing the kid out here?
Oh, let me hold him, Doctor, please.
Of course. There you are. Ah, the child knows his father.
Yes. He knows me. He knows me. But he'll hate me when he's old enough to realize it. Doctor.
Yes?
His arms. His arms.
What about the kid's arms?
They're straight. Straight as arrows.
So what?
But before they were terribly twisted. Both his arms were terribly crippled.
You can see for yourself the child is normal.
But I tell you, before when I looked at... I swear they were twisted. And now...
You were under great tension. Perhaps your imagination...
Yes. Oh, my little son. Aren't his tiny fingers so tiny?
And now go in and tell your wife truthfully that her baby is normal in every way. Show her.
Yes.
You both look forward to a happy Christmas Eve. It is. Remember, tears are not for Christmas Eve.
Hey. Come on, Mason. Forget all that good fairy stuff. This fella's hopped up enough as is. Let's go.
Yes, Mac.
Oh, Doctor.
Yes?
Mary Merry Christmas, Doctor.
Thank you. A Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Mason! Dr. Mason!
Yes, Dr. Garrett, you've been looking for me?
Yes, I...
471
only one bell. Go on, Dr. Garrett.
Well, I must speak to you, Mason, about the telegram.
Yes?
The telegram which said that Dr. Mason was killed. The one you said was a mistake.
Did I, Dr. Garrett?
I've just spoken to the sender of that telegram. I have just finished talking to Dr. Mason's mother on the long-distance telephone.
That's my call. I'm sorry, I must go, Doctor.
Now, wait, man, wait. I want to talk to you. Listen to me, please. Dr. Mason was killed. Do you hear? 3 hours before you walked into my office, he was killed while driving to the Albany Railroad Station. And his mother saw him die.
Well, Mac, what is this call going to be? A birth or a death?
I don't know, Mason, but I don't like this one. There's something about this call that give me a funny chill all of a sudden.
Because it's in your neighborhood?
What do you think this call is going to be?
Because it is your wife.
Ellie?
Is this job a rotten job, Mac? Now that you can rush a doctor to her side? Is this ambulance still a crate? Now that it's speeding to answer your own wife's cry of pain?
Stop that kind of talk, will you? You're trying to make me think something's happened, Ellie. I ain't afraid. So I'll say it again. Yeah, driving this crate is still a job, and a bum one at that.
And the 8 years?
Rotten years, wasted years. Could have had my own garage and repair business. I'd be in the chips today instead of...
Yes, you would have made more money.
Instead of risking my neck driving all night, twisting in and out of help pillars, skidding on slippery car tracks.
Why, Mac? Why did you do it?
How many times I gotta tell you that nothing in this whole cockeyed world could have kept me sitting back of this wheel, except my wife. If it wasn't for Ellie,
What's the matter, Mac?
Nothing, I guess. That house we just passed, that was ours. And, the lights are out.
Is that unusual?
No. It just means Ellie ain't home. She's probably going down to the corner as far as the drugstore. Yeah, Ellie walks the dog there every night about this time. And...
Yes, Mac?
The call we're going to is that drugstore.
Yes, Mac.
Mason, you got a hunch what it is. Tell me what it is.
It is not a birth, Mac.
Let me through! Let me through again! Ellie! Ellie! It's Ellie! Mason, do something! You gotta do something! Please! Please!
We will take her to the hospital, Mac. Come, let's get ready. The next call will be ours.
812 East River Road.
Yes, you heard. The other ambulance just went out.
Are you crazy? My wife is upstairs in the operating room, and you expect me to leave the hospital to go out and drive?
There are people who need us, Mac. Our work tonight is not yet finished.
But Ellie needs me. What do I care about other people?
There are people, Mac, who will cry out for help. As your wife did. We will answer.
Not me. I ain't moving.
It is Christmas Eve, Mac.
Christmas Eve. What a Christmas present I got.
64 West Street.
It's our turn, Mac.
64 West Street.
All right, Mason.
64
But this is my
West
last
Street.
trip for the night. No, not for the night. Forever. I'm through, do you hear? All washed up. For good.
I'm terribly sorry, Mac. We did the best that we could.
Dying? Ellie's dying? And
She asked for you, Mac. Just once. It was while you were out on that West Street call. Then she lapsed into coma.
Ellie? Isn't there a chance, Doc Garrett?
I doubt it.
While I'm out with the crepe, my wife calls for me, and now she's unconscious. Think of others, he said, because it's Christmas Eve. What are you gonna say now, Mason? You took me from her. You made me go out and drive that rotten ambulance while she...
You went to help others, to bring aid to the suffering.
A lot of consolation, that is.
Remember how the old woman blessed you, with tears in her eyes.
Oh, I can't think of nothing but Ellie's going. You with your big ideas and your fine speeches. What do you know about sorrow and suffering?
All that there is to know, my son.
Just now when you said that for a second you got old. You look more than 1,000 years old. I must be seeing things on account Ellie is leaving me, and I'm crazy with grief and sorrow.
Grief and sorrow for you. Yet how much you did to relieve others of that pain.
It's funny, Mason, but...
Yes, Mac?
What? When you said those words, I thought of my 8 years. The 8 rotten years. And they didn't seem so bad. Not anymore. Now I kind of like them.
Sorrow worketh repentance. You should, Mac. You should glory in them. 8 years of bringing a healer to the suffering. 8 years of rushing the torn and the smashed to the hands of the mender.
Yeah, your words, they just take the pain right out of me. They just draw it out.
Now that your work for this night is finished, Mac, I will walk home with you.
Go home? While Elliot...
Yes.
Okay, if you say so, Mason. But for the life of me, I don't know why I'd take your word. What a break. What a rotten break I got on Christmas Eve.
You love her a great deal, don't you?
Yeah.
Soon it will be midnight.
A Merry Christmas.
How did she greet you each night when you returned from your driving?
How did Ellie greet... Why do you ask that, Mason?
Tell me, Mac. I want you to say it.
Well, she...
Tell me.
She's like a happy, anxious kid. She'd go out and put on a porch light. Didn't matter even if the weather was terrible. I used to bawl her out for it. Tell her she'd catch pneumonia. But she'd always put on a porch light and stand outside there, waiting
for her shining knight returning from his errands of mercy.
As soon as she'd see me come around the next corner, she'd call to me.
And now, will you continue your driving?
Yeah, I'm sticking to it, Mason. Even though Ellie won't be around, I'm sticking.
This is your corner.
Yeah.
Look to your house, my son.
The light? Our porch light, it's on. Mason! Your eyes! Mason! Mason! Where are you?
Look to your house, my son.
No! It can't be! It's Ellie! Ellie, darling, it is you! Thank God! Thank God! And forgive me. I did not know who you were.
You have just heard the 6th annual Pillsbury presentation of Grand Central Station's traditional Christmas drama. In a moment, I'll return with the names of the players who gave such an inspired performance.
This is Galen Drake, bringing you a Christmas greeting from Mr. Philip W. Pillsbury, president of Pillsbury Mills. It reads, "Throughout the entire world, this Christmastide, families are gathered in prayer and festivity. Christmas started when a child was born into a family many centuries ago. And the families of the world have perpetuated the Christmas spirit. Fathers, mothers, sons, and daughters, united always in the hope that peace on earth, goodwill to men, will someday blanket the world. Only when the true spirit of Christmas stays with us every day shall we know the peace on earth that angels sang about so long ago. I extend a greeting to your family from the people who make up the Pillsbury family, and it's a big family. The farmer who plants the wheat, the employees in our mills and offices, and your grocer, baker, and feed dealer who carry our Pillsbury products. We at Pillsbury hope this Christmas will be a true day of joy, that there will be songs and feasting, a family gathered round the table, and a word of prayer, and above all, the laughter of children. For it's the children who will keep Christmas always the day of love and understanding." Signed, Philip W. Pillsbury.
Our play, Miracle for Christmas, was written by Jay Bennett. Our stars, Mason Adam as Mac and Ralph Clanton as Dr. Mason. Gilbert Mack was featured as the young father, Walter Grisey as Dr. Garrett, Madeline Pierce as the baby, with the music by Lou White and Burley Mills. Next week, the tender, affectionate drama of the young reporter whose human interest New Year's story never got printed because instead of writing it, he lived it. Our cast is headed by the 3 top featured players of Broadway's smash hit, Death of a Salesman, Cameron Mitchell, Mildred Dunnock, and Howard Smith. Now, this is your Grand Central Station narrator, Ken Roberts, wishing you, for all the Pillsbury folks, a very Merry Christmas. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Stay tuned for Stars Over Hollywood. It's 1 p.m. White Rose tea time. Feeling droopy? Perk up with White Rose tea.
Welcome back. A heartwarming story, and I can see why it was so successful during the golden age of radio. There are some beautiful moments in the course of the story. That doesn't mean the story was without problems. There were a couple of things, such as when the other doctor found out that Dr. Mason wasn't who he seemed to be, he never followed up on it, and it was never explained why he didn't follow up on it. And then the ending with the wife being at home was a bit puzzling how that worked out. Though I think there's maybe some emotional logic. I think one of the big thrusts of the story was to get the ambulance driver, to Mac, to really change his attitude about his life, about everything in his life, and to understand how precious it was, rather than just being cynical and angry about his lot in life and resenting what he didn't have. And that final scene and his changed reaction to his wife's actions and greeting kind of signified the change that he'd gone throughout the story. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you listened to last year, you'll recall we brought you 4 different episodes of different old-time radio programs. This year, we're only going to bring you 2. Now, the programs we brought you last year, they contain comedy and music and inspiration. How could we manage to fit all of that that we provided you in 4 programs into only 2? Well, what if one of them was a big show? And you'll get to find out what I mean on Tuesday. In the meantime, though, send your comments to box13@greatdetectives.net and follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.